All right, everyone, welcome to the Wednesday midweek edition of Reality Check 96.1 FM, 900 AM, wordradio.com, Word TV, Word app as well. Welcome to the home of Black Talk Media. I'm your host, executive producer, also creator of Reality Check, Charles Ellison. You can reach me on Twitter. That's twitter.com, @EllisonReport. Twitter.com, we are @EllisonReport, hashtag Reality Check. Welcome to the program. Those listening in Greater Philly, Philly proper, Delaware Valley, but beyond throughout the nation. Many of you are listening through our live stream at wordradio.com and also watching us at Word TV. You can catch the Word TV live streams at Facebook Live, facebook.com/4word. Appreciate you all there, and good morning to you. A lot of people will say good morning from different places around the nation, watching us at our Facebook live stream or watching us on Word TV, and also by Word app too. You can take Word on the go on your smartphone or tablet device. Do download that today if you have not already on your Google Play Store or your Apple Store as well. Let's get the program started at the top of this 10 o'clock hour. We have joining us now Robert Lieberman. He is a political scientist at Johns Hopkins University, also co-author of 4 Threats, the Recurring Crises of American Democracy. He actually co-authored that book with his colleague Suzanne Mettler. We have Professor Lieberman joining us now by phone here on Reality Check. Professor, how are you doing?
I'm great, thanks. Thanks for having me, Charles.
Oh, no, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate this. So explain your book here. Talk to us about the 4 threats. What are they, and how have they been recurring? You note 5 moments in American history when that's happened. When were those? So what are these 4 threats, and when were those 5 moments?
Yeah, well, one of the things that we set out to understand moments when, like the present, when American democracy seemed fragile, when it seemed in danger of really moving backwards. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we have learned, especially from people who study democracy outside the United States, where democracies kind of rise and fall, is that there are a number of things that we know in other countries are threatening to democracy. And the 4 threats that we outline in the book are political polarization, the division of society and politics into the sort of us versus them competition. That's one. A second is what we describe as a conflict over the boundaries of who belongs in the political community that expresses itself in the United States mostly as racism or nativism. That's 2. A third is rising economic inequality. And the 4th is growing presidential power, when presidents become excessively powerful in relation to other branches of government, Congress and the courts and so on and so forth. And what we discovered when we looked across American history is that at the moments when democracy seemed most fragile in American history, some combination of all of these threats was present. And the periods that we look at in the book are the 1790s, the first decade or so after the formation of the Republic, when the country really divided into 2 political parties for the first time, who really hated each other. And there was fear that the country was going to fall apart or kind of backslide into some kind of authoritarianism. That's one. The second is the 1850s, the run-up to the Civil War and the conflict over slavery. Right. The third is the 1890s, the end of Reconstruction, which resulted in the mass disenfranchisement of African Americans in the South. The fourth is the 1930s, the Depression. And the 5th is the 1970s and Watergate. And what we find is that in each of these periods, different combinations of these threats appeared. What's extraordinary about the current moment in American history is that this is really the first time that we can find that all 4 of these threats are present at the same time. And what we worry about is that signifies a really challenging time for American democracy today.
And there's also this assumption, like from the public, because the public may, we're witnessing it, we're experiencing it, right? We feel these shifts, these disruptions, and in many cases, we might call them the sort of proverbial tectonic shifts that are taking place. But the public feels like the government is still humming along, that we have bureaucrats in place to keep the trains running on time, to keep certain agencies still in place, to keep them operating. But what's so risky about that assumption that, you have still like a large segment of the American public that to a degree still feels like, okay, well, I'm still waking up in the morning. I'm still able to like, either, get on with my current routine. There's sort of this, and because there's all this conversation, as you're aware of, and you're seeing it in the Democratic convention right now, they're trying to telegraph to the public, hey, we're the folks that can return you to normalcy. And that normalcy comes along with this assumption that everything, well, everything's still running along. The fundamental pillars are still intact, but there's riskiness in that assumption, right, Professor?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. No, and it's true for many people. Life goes on more or less as it had before. But if you think about the indicators or what we call the pillars of democracy, the things that you can look at and to assess, is our democracy really functioning well? They're all at risk. So one of them is, for example, free and fair elections. Democratic countries are able to have free and fair elections where people are able to vote, where votes are counted equally, and where we can be confident that the votes are counted correctly and that the winner is the winner. I have to say I'm not confident that we're on track for fair elections this fall. The president is doing his best, and the Republican Party is doing their best to undermine confidence in elections. Think about the rule of law, another one of the pillars of democracy that we describe in the book. The idea that the law applies equally to everyone and that powerful people can't use their position to evade the law. The last few years have not made one confident that that's happening, right? So you can go down the line, and yes, our everyday lives, and for many of us, might not be disrupted that much. But I think there are real reasons to worry, and certainly, when you look historically, there are real reasons to worry that we're not going in a forward direction when we think about democracy. And then, of course, the crisis of this year, the pandemic and the recession and joblessness that have come along with it, are just exacerbating a lot of that, making it worse.
Yeah. You just mentioned pandemic, and we've been watching that as well. We've been all experiencing it and in so many different ways. But I think even more dangerous than that is the infodemic. I've been talking a lot about that on this program, either with experts or with the occasional listeners who call in. So it feels as if this constant, unstoppable flow of misinformation, and it's deliberate misinformation. Some of the information too, it's unintentional. But people are like unwitting carriers of this misinformation. It's accelerating that disruption process, isn't it? Talk a bit about that, about how because that's also what's very unprecedented or extraordinary about this time, right? You have the convergence of those four threats all happening simultaneously, but sprinkled onto that is the infodemic that makes it even worse. And maybe that's why you have all those four threats converging like that all at once.
Yeah, I love that word, infodemic. I'm going to steal that. I think that's absolutely. I think that's absolutely right. But that is, it's a symptom of a political system in which it's really a symptom of polarization in a way, right? And we are so divided into separate communities, politically and socially, the people that we live with and the people that we spend our days with and that we go to school with and that we work with, we sort ourselves out into these really separate communities. And if you listen to the narrative and the stories and the information on one side, it doesn't really match up with the things that people on the other side are saying. So that the underlying polarization of the country and this sort of division into these us and them kind of camps really makes the ground fertile for that kind of information separation, right? Where there are two different media worlds, and it makes us vulnerable to, say, this kind of foreign interference in elections that we've been hearing about a lot in the last few years, where foreign agents, Russia, for example, is able to use social media to plant these divisive stories, often false stories, that they know that people on different sides of the political divide are going to react to differently. And it widens the gap that already exists.
If you're just now tuning in, we're talking with political scientist Robert Lieberman. He's a political science professor at Johns Hopkins University, also co-author of 4 Threats, the Recurring Crises of American Democracy. You should check it out. He co-authors that with his colleague Suzanne Mettler. He's joining us here at the top of the Wednesday midday edition of Reality Check. Professor, how do you think policymakers guard against this? I feel like after we get through the moment, we're going to have to seriously reassess things like checks and balances, right? Because the current checks and balances thing in a moment like this is not working out so well. I feel like we really need to figure out how we truly create enforcement mechanisms, right? So, something more than just hearings, something that stops a president like the current one from openly stress testing and violating the Constitution the way he has. And that's happening, and he's not being held accountable. I feel like that's part of the problem. Institutions for a very long time have put all this faith in people and people to just do the right thing, to follow these unwritten codes or traditions, but there's no rigorous enforcement regime to prevent things like this from either happening or getting worse.
Yeah, no, you're right. And checks and balances are not working right now. And I mean, contrast the current moment to the 1970s and Watergate, which is one of the episodes we write about in the book, where you also then had a president who was using the power of the presidency to monkey with the political process. And he almost got away with it, but ultimately it was a bipartisan coalition. It was Republicans and Democrats who are enough Republicans who were willing to put the finger on him that he didn't survive. That's not what we see today, and that sort of checks and balances that depend on that kind of, constitutionally faithful behavior isn't happening today. I think one of the things we can do is for us as citizens and as voters and as observers to really pay attention to this and to prioritize democracy, to think about what can we do and how can we evaluate candidates and proposals and reform propositions with an eye toward preserving this kind of democracy, preserving checks and balances, right? We have a tendency to look at politics, and everyone does this, and think about what's in it for me? What's this going to do, this proposal say, or this candidate going to do for me, for my pocketbook, for my group, for my party? And to some extent, that's how democratic politics work. But I think it's also important for people to think about, especially in this moment, what does this mean, this candidate, this proposal, this bill, mean for democracy? Is this going to make it easier for us going forward to have a fair democratic system and to have a broad, inclusive democratic system? Or is this just going to sort of amount to more of the same kind of fighting and conflict and exclusion that we've seen in the past?
Let me ask you though, what about the role that civic literacy plays in that? Because now even this conversation sort of assumes, right, that everyone understands what we're talking about, everyone understands what you're talking about, or what your book is describing, and there has been a crisis in just basic civic literacy. People don't understand. I mean, maybe at one point, I knew when I was growing up, there was a basic understanding, at least in like the 70s and the 80s. you know, there was this sense that, okay, we understand how these mechanisms and these institutions work. That's not really as pervasive anymore, and I think that that's feeding a lot into it. How do we get that on a course correction? How do we institute things like, you know, mandatory civic literacy, and I mean starting early, like in kindergarten?
Yeah, I think the call for civic literacy, for civics education for young Americans is really important. And I think you know, it's political scientists have been worried about this issue for a long time. Mm-hmm. You know, the challenge that most people, a lot of people, you know, don't pay a ton of attention to politics. For most people, it's, you know, they're worried about their jobs and their kids and school and their everyday lives, and politics is something else. But I do think, especially in these moments of crisis, and we really do describe this as a crisis, it's incumbent on us and our local institutions, our civic institutions, to help people pay attention and help people understand what's going on, and to try and cure this, you know, what you call the infodemic, the sort of polarization, even of just basic information. I think we need to be, the more we can be all sort of working off the same script or thinking about the same things and worrying about the same things, the better off we'll be.
Yeah. We're talking with, we've been talking to, as you've been tuning in, political science professor, Johns Hopkins University political science professor, Robert Lieberman, co-author of 4 Threats to Recurring Crises of American Democracy. So definitely pick up a copy today. And he's been joining us here on Reality Check. Professor, I get a feeling we're going to talk to you a little bit before we head into the election, and then maybe on the other side of it too, to get your assessment then. So really appreciate your time this morning.
Thanks very much for having me.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's take a break, and when we come back on the other side, we're scheduled to speak with South Carolina Congressman James Clyburn, Democrat, supposed to be joining us next as part of our weekly conversations, these are exclusive conversations every week with the Congressional Black Caucus, and we have House Democratic leader James Clyburn. He's going to be joining us next here on Reality Check, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WordRadio.com, Word TV, Word app. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Want the latest in Word swag? Check out the shop tab on WordRadio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on WordRadio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk Media.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour workday, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM, WURD. Reality Check with Charles Ellison right now on Word Radio and WordRadio.com.
All right, don't forget, join us tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday, and Thursday, August 20th, means Founders Day. It's our annual Founders Day celebration here at WURD. We'll be celebrating and honoring the life and legacy of Walter P. Lomax Jr., MD, Philadelphia-born physician, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and founder of this here WURD radio. So we're going to have an entire day of special Founders Day programming right here on the home of Black Talk Media. That's going to be occurring from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. There's plenty of panels on access and equity, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship. We'll also be talking about the women's right to vote. Remember, 2020 is the 100th anniversary of the women's right to vote. We'll be having plenty of black women elected officials on that panel, and reflections on Dr. Lomax's legacy and his life with his closest family and friends throughout the day. We're also rebooting the WURD Livelihood Initiative, and that's designed to connect Black Philadelphians to jobs, career readiness information, entrepreneurship opportunities, and financial literacy. So you can listen all day on 96.1 FM, 900 AM, wordradio.com, Word TV, Word app. Watch us on Word TV through facebook.com/4word. There's also a special Founders Day discount for the 4Word membership. Join or renew on Founders Day for the discounted price of $80. The regular membership price is $90. So go to Word Radio, WURDradio.com for the full Founders Day lineup and register for your 4Word membership so you're eligible to win prizes and special giveaways throughout the day. That is tomorrow, Founders Day, Thursday. Joining us now as part of our ongoing and exclusive weekly conversations with the Congressional Black Caucus, we have joining us now South Carolina Congressman and House Democratic Leader James Clyburn. He's joining us here on Reality Check. Go to clyburn.house.gov for more information. Congressman, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm okay. How are you?
All right, good to have you. Really appreciate your time this morning. So how do you feel about the convention thus far? We did have an opportunity to watch your speech in Charleston, South Carolina on Monday night. Really appreciate that and appreciate some of the history you were referencing there. But do you think that this is resonating beyond just rank and file Democrats and seasoned political observers?
Well, thank you very much for having me. But, from what I'm hearing, yes. We talked Monday night about what it takes to unify the country. I think I wanted to say, and I picked that setting because I wanted to be across the street from Emmanuel Church, across the street from the John C. Calhoun statue that the city of Charleston just took down, 5 blocks from Gadsden Wharf, where about 60% of the Africans that came into this country and were enslaved came through Gadsden Wharf. About 80% of the African Americans in this country can trace at least one of their lineages back to Gadsden Wharf. And so I wanted to talk about the soil, the blood, sweat, and tears that have gone into building this country and how we need to come together and face the future together. And that's what those 9 souls, the families and friends of those 9 souls, when they responded to this white supremacist who said he went into that church to try to start a race war. Their response to him is what I wanted to highlight to the American people, that we have had some trials and tribulations, but this country is this democracy is worth saving. We got to come together to do it together. We got a divider in the White House who makes it very clear he's trying to resegregate communities. He's making it very clear that he wants to have us against them. That's not what's going to make this country great. This country can only be great if it's respected around the world and if all of its people come together on common ground. So that's what I was trying to set the stage for on Monday night.
You've often commented, because you're a student of history, you're a teacher of history. I mean, that's how where your profession, your original profession is before you got into politics, became a congressman. And you've often commented, especially in recent months, that we are very much on the cusp of where Germany was in the 1930s during the rise of Hitler's Third Reich. And I agree with that assessment as someone who's a very avid student since I was a kid studying World War II. So do you feel like the president openly violating the Constitution the way he does and also violating things like Congress's control over the purse with executive order, his constant stress testing of the Constitution, is this him just test running a full-blown dictatorship in the event if he's reelected? He's been testing the waters to see how much he's able to get away with so he can effectively do anything he wants, right, once he's reelected.
That's exactly what I think. And I've been saying that for about 2 years now. I saw it in the campaign. This guy kept doing things that he really is testing, how far he could go. And when he said, I can shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and my people will not leave me. That told me something. And then I listened to him very closely. And I said right after his State of the Union address about 2 years ago is when I first started talking about this comparison between Germany and Italy and today's Russia, Putin, and this man, 45. Now, someone said, "Are you calling him Hitler?" I said, "No, I'm calling him Mussolini." Putin is Hitler. He's Mussolini. I really believe that. And all of the indicators are there. He just threw out last week his third and fourth term. And everybody said he's joking. This guy's not joking. He is not joking. And I think that's why you see Republicans on yesterday issuing that report. Remember, the Senate is controlled by Republicans, and for them to issue that report they did yesterday tells me the Republicans are now waking up to the fact that they had better get their heads out of the sand.
The president openly admitting, Congressman, that he's actively sabotaging the election by essentially defunding the Postal Service. Then I'm hearing about there's a directive to postal employees that we're seeing this play out in Alaska. That's where they had noticed it, but it's going to hit a lot of rural places as well. And you oversee some of that, represent a lot of that in South Carolina, where postal employees won't be able to sign off on absentee ballots. Why hasn't anyone in Congress mentioned or indicated plans to review or potentially activate the disqualification clause in the Constitution? This seems like a disqualification clause trigger to me. That's the 14th Amendment, Section 3. I mean, I understand there's not a whole lot of stomach or appetite for another impeachment exercise, but people feel like Congress really has to figure out some kind of mechanism or tool to hold the president directly accountable even before the election.
Well, I keep saying, Democrats control the House of Representatives. Republicans control the Senate. The two of them make up the Congress. Any bill that passes the House must pass the Senate. And Mitch McConnell has already told you he's not going to allow anything to pass the Senate. He won't even take it up unless the president supports it. That answers your question.
Well, let me ask
them in the Senate. They found him not guilty. We've just sent a $3 trillion bill over to the House that takes care of all of the stuff that's going on in the post office. We call it the HEROES Act. It's been sitting in the Senate for 12 weeks. And I haven't heard any media people talking about that. They keep saying, why won't the Congress do this? Why won't the Congress do that? The House has done it. Mitch McConnell is sitting on it. So
and I want to get
it's the Senate.
I want to get to that too, Congressman, in a short bit about that HEROES Act, that $3+ trillion HEROES Act. But I have to ask again, because remember when, like, House Republicans, for example, when they were in charge, and when Obama was president, they would sue him for everything. They were suing. I mean, there's still a lawsuit from the previous House Republican regime under House Speaker Boehner that's still traveling through the federal courts against the Affordable Care Act. People are not understanding, why aren't House Democrats doing the same thing? I mean, Republicans sue for all kinds of things without standing. Why not do that?
You know how many lawsuits that we got sitting up there? We just got the decision up there in New York. We've got at least 10 lawsuits working their way through the courts. You just don't wake up every morning and have a headline saying we got a lawsuit. We're winning some and we're losing some. We've been suing this guy. Remember, you bringing the courts into it. And so the courts have ruled with us. It's going to go right on up to the Supreme Court. It'll be 10 years, like you said. There's a lawsuit that's going on since Boehner was the Speaker. How long does it take to work through the courts?
No, it makes sense. Congressman, if folks are just now tuning in, we're talking with House Democratic leader, South Carolina Congressman Jim Clyburn. He's joining us now here on Reality Check. Let's talk, Congressman, about that HEROES Act. It's, as you correctly stated, it's sitting literally on the Senate Majority Leader's desk. Folks are either on summer break, they're in convention mode. Do we still think that there's some sort of relief or recovery package at some point in the immediate future? When could we expect some type of compromise of some sort with the Senate that's ready for the president to sign, or are they just kind of running the clock here? They're playing games because it's before the election.
Well, that's exactly what they're doing. McConnell went home last week, closed the Senate down, so we'll be back after Labor Day. Nancy Pelosi is bringing the House back. I'm going back to Washington. We're going to have a session on Saturday, and we are going to vote on Saturday to send some more stuff to the Senate. And I want everybody to start calling on the Senate to pass it. We're going to pass it in the House. You remember, I'm the vote counter. And I can tell you right now, I've already counted the votes. We got the votes to do it. And we're going to do it. And then it's going to go to the Senate. And then it'll be out of our hands. The public will have to weigh in to make the Senate do what they should do. That's all we can do is pass the legislation, and we're going to pass it.
And wait on the Senate. Hey, I do want to ask you, going to the Senate, because I know I got you for about several more minutes. Senate is being described as very competitive for Democrats. You have in your state in South Carolina, and I was down there at South Carolina State Homecoming back in October, and I did have the pleasure of interviewing Jamie Harrison, the Democratic Senate candidate at South Carolina State University. We live broadcasted from there. So how does that look to you, Congressman, realistically for Jamie Harrison? He looks good in terms of fundraising and in terms of polling numbers. What are you hearing on the ground there in South Carolina?
Look, Jamie is my protege. I just read in the newspapers this morning a statement attributed to Jamie about what my late wife meant to him and what I continue to mean to him. I've never had a son, and Jamie fits the bill. I'm doing everything I can for Jamie. Jamie, I'm going to the toss-up. The experts have now said it's no longer a Republican seat. It now leans Republican. I think it's a toss-up. I think Jamie's going to pull this off. He's running a great campaign. People have bought into his narrative. He's raising the money. And I'm spending all the energy I can on helping get elected. That's why I passed up last night announcing the vote. I gave it to Jamie because I wanted him to get the benefit of it. So I'm doing everything I can for him.
Let me ask you, Congressman, if I could, the South Carolina, you recognize, obviously, you showed that in your speech. You were just talking to us about that in Charleston, South Carolina on Monday night. One thing I hear from South Carolinians or people who are part of that South Carolina diaspora is they're cautious. These are from black people from South Carolina. They're like, well, are white South Carolinians going to allow that state to be represented by two black U.S. senators? It will be one Republican, Tim Scott, and then possibly one Democrat, Jamie Harrison, because of that history and those racial tensions down there. Do you think that could be possible?
All things are possible. I grew up in a parsonage. And so if I can be biblical here, all things are possible for them that love the Lord.
Congressman, last question too. I'm worried about, and I want to see how worried you are about alarming numbers of potential black voters saying they won't vote. I've seen about 4 different polls that show almost 20% of potential or eligible black voters saying they're not voting this year. What are you doing about that? And it's happening at a time when black elected officials, their credibility is at stake. This feeling among some black voters that the black political class is not in touch, or that their approaches are not aggressive enough. I'm really concerned about those numbers. Are you?
No, not concerned about them at all. If it's only 20%, we're in good shape, because what has been happening in the past is about 45% of the black voters have not been voted. So if it's only 20%, then we're in great shape. So I'm not worried about 20%.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. We're talking with Congressman Jim Clyburn. I know I got to let you go, Congressman. I really appreciate this. House
good.
Democratic leader, Congressman out of South Carolina. Go to clyburn.house.gov. You take care, sir. Thanks so much. Be safe.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye now. That was Congressman Jim Clyburn, House Democratic leader. Also represents large parts of South Carolina and arguably the most powerful politician. Definitely one of the most powerful politicians in South Carolina, one of the most powerful politicians in the country. He's number 3 in the House Democratic leadership. He's also a member of the longtime member of the Congressional Black Caucus, and clyburn.house.gov for more information. So he said he's not worried about some of the polling saying that we could potentially, that there are about, we've been seeing a lot of polls here, and we've been alarmed by them, 20% of eligible black voters saying that they won't vote. So I'm still alarmed by that, but actually very interesting comments from Congressman Clyburn about that, but we appreciate him being here with us this morning. Let me go ahead and take a break, and when we come back on the other side, we're going to open up the phone lines at 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check, 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Word Radio Digital Tip of the Week with Stephanie Humphrey.
I'm your Tech Life expert, Stephanie Humphrey, and this is your Word Digital Tip of the Week. Did you know that as long as you have a cell phone that still works, you can call 911? Even if you don't have a phone plan for that particular smartphone, if you can turn the phone on and charge the battery, you can dial 911. However, there are some limitations. Since you don't have a service plan on the cell phone, the 911 operator won't be able to call you back if they need to. Also, depending on how old the phone is, it might not have the updated GPS technology that emergency responders would need to determine your location. But if you have an old phone laying around the house anyway, it's not a bad idea to keep it charged just in case of an emergency. Having another way to call 911 as a backup could come in handy because you never know when you might need it. Stay tuned to WURD for more tech tips and stay connected with us at wordradio.com.
The Word Digital Tip of the Week is brought to you by Comcast NBC Universal. The Word Radio Newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting wordradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on Word Radio, messages from our President and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the Word Radio Newsletter. Support independent black media and join the Forward movement now at 215-425-7875 or visit wordradio.com.
Philadelphia families, PHL Pre-K, the city's free pre-K program, is now enrolling. Over 130 pre-K centers are getting ready to serve children this year with appropriate health and safety precautions. There are no income limits for this free pre-K program. Children who are 3 or 4 years old as of September 1 can enroll. Call 844-PHL Pre-K or visit phlprek.org to learn more and find a quality pre-K center. That's 844-PHL Pre-K. This program is made possible by the Philadelphia Beverage Tax.
Reality Check with Charles Ellison right now on Word Radio and wordradio.com.
All right, welcome back to Reality Check. Phone lines are open at 215-634-8065. Toll free, it is 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. 215-634-8065. And toll free, it is 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. Just hearing about another spate of round of pretty much was amounting to like mass shootings in Philadelphia. I think it was last night, someone called me about like 6 people being shot. So, and obviously people hearing a lot about that like on a daily basis in the news. Homicides are now 33%. 33% in Philadelphia. Homicides are 33% above where they were the same time last year. 282 homicides thus far in 2020 in Philadelphia, compared to 212 homicides at this time back in 2019. And in 2018, it was about 205 homicides at this time. 2017, it was 201. And in 2015, it was 165. So see how we've, just kind of see the journey there in terms of homicides. The homicide rate was already very high last year, and it promises to be much higher. So no sense from City Hall, from really not, and this is not just City Hall, this is also like just the collective Philadelphia community. No sense on exactly what to do. People, I'm not here, there's no really coherent, unified plan around how to really, truly tackle this, how to address it. There's lots of conversations, there's lots of hearings, there's lots of hearings about, looking at the crises from a variety of vantage points, identifying the crises. There's a plan that's essentially that's supposed to be in place from City Hall, but I don't get the sense also that the planning or that the response to this is truly holistic or wraparound, because it's going to have to be that. It can't just be like immediate crime fighting. Right. So there's going to have to be a little bit of that, of course, some of that immediate kind of in the trenches, frontline crime fighting. But there's a lot of confusion around that. I'm told, Philadelphia police, obviously, in a lot of cases, there's a sense that, they're not as aggressively on the scene as they should be. There's obviously a lot of tensions between the police department and community. Also, Philadelphia police not doing a very good job of tracking, I'm told, by certain folks or certain sources that some of the perpetrators of this activity and of this shooting, particularly young people, are in social media channels, places, or spaces like Reddit, and that's not actually openly having conversations about what they're planning on doing and what they've done or who they've shot. Philadelphia police not tracking that. No one knows if this is one part of the city or one particular segment of the violence response community is saying that it's not gangs. Another segment of the community or another section of the city is saying that there is a lot of gang activity, so people can't make up their minds on that. And then people are asking, like, oh, what happened to the Philadelphia gang task force? Like, so, those questions are looming out there. And also questions about, like, what do we do with young people? How do we keep them active? How do we keep them engaged? People just not really figuring that out. So just a whole lot of questions in there about, people coming up with sort of creative planning about, and it's not going to be just one way to do this. It's going to be multiple ways or multiple pathways towards reducing this violence. And we have to think holistically. We have to think in terms of wraparound. And wraparound means like, okay, well, the mental health, trauma-informed services, workforce development, also, trades or skill set engagement, for example, looking at literacy, so doesn't surprise us when you have high violence rates like this, and then over a quarter of the adult population in Philadelphia is illiterate, can't read. Right. So, and then y'all surprised by this violence. So, and imagine, and then you look at like the math, reading, science proficiency rates of Philadelphia public school students, which it is stunning that no one's making hay about that. That's stunning. That people just tend to gloss over that factoid right there, because that's a crisis in and of itself. And then you're surprised we have this kind of like chaos or blooming chaos. Y'all surprised? Because I wasn't. Let me go to Woody out of Winfield, who's calling in for a reality check. Woody?
Hey, Charles.
Hey, what's going on?
You're hitting the nail on the head, man. We have an answer to the problem, but it seems like whether it be Republicans or Democrats, everybody doesn't deal with this issue. They kind of pull the sheet over it. Systemic educational discrimination is what we have. I asked the question, are all districts, if you're an academic kid, and you ask the question, are academics the same in every district? Well, if you're an academic, you're supposed to be an academic. But that is not true. The schools now are 0% in their proficiency in the reading, and they don't even take in the science. So when you when you look at it from that perspective, put yourself in the shoes of a young person who can't read, and they grow up, now they're in their 20s, they got a kid, you know, their parents can't read. They're out on the corner in the streets, and now you got to find a way to make $1. Well, there's guys out there that are selling drugs, and that's a way to make $1. So once you get involved with that, then it's an effect that continues to grow. So now you have this problem, that problem. Before you know it, somebody's shot. Now, the other thing is how you feel as a human being. No self-esteem. You don't really feel like anything if you can't go somewhere and fill out an application for a job because you can't read. You can't go back to your parents to ask them. They can't read. We need something to face the fact that adults out here cannot read with children. We need somebody to do something about that. Even with the voting issue, Charles, I'm not going to hold you long. The voting issue with these polls, I had to bring the voting machines in the barbershop before the coronavirus, just because I knew there were so many that needed to know about these new machines. They went to straight ticket, as I shared with you before. I mean, took the straight ticket away. As I shared with you before, these people, if they can't read, at least they were able to go in and somebody was to show them, just pull this, that's a straight ticket, that means you voted. We have a problem, and it's done by our school systems, and particularly in the inner city schools. These kids are graduating these public schools without being able to read. Nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody pushes it behind the bush. I don't understand it.
I don't understand either, Woody. Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead. You were finishing that last thought.
No, I was just saying, if you want the answer to the problem, and you have the answer, but you don't want that answer, that's what it seems like. Whatever you want to do, maybe it's something you don't want to deal with. But when you deal with this systemic, I go right back to it again, educational discrimination is what's happening to us, but you do not hear those words. And I would like to hear more of those words. I appreciate you today at least mentioning the illiteracy issue, because I couldn't even give you a number of how many young people I know that can't read.
Yeah. I don't get it. I don't get how people are not making a big thing out of that. I don't.
Well, they don't have the experience. And if you can read, you can't imagine someone who can't. And if you're in this whole issue as the opposition, you don't want them to read. Donald Trump made it clear. He said, African Americans, what the hell you got to lose? Your schools are all messed up. You can't get money from your banks, and you're being gentrified out of your neighborhoods. He's never mentioned it again, but did he come right to the point and tell you exactly what's going on, just to let you know, hey, we all know what's going on, but I'm bold enough to tell you.
Yeah.
Damn shame. Excuse the expression.
No, it is. It really is a shame. It is a damn shame. Yeah, I think we can say that. We can use that word. Let me go to Bruce. Thank you, Woody, for calling. I appreciate that. We'll continue to highlight it. Let me go to Bruce out of Northeast, calling in for a reality check. Bruce, what's up?
Oh, how are you?
How you doing?
Okay. About the shootings and in the neighborhood. As I understand, I mean, how long has, we have this increase in violence within the past 5 years or so?
Yeah.
Okay, as I understand, like the police, they don't have to live in the city now? Now, there was a time when, you was growing up or wherever you lived or the neighborhood you visited, you always seemed like someone always would say, there's a cop that lives on the corner or on the block or is around the corner or something like that. That in itself is a deterrent that, when the police officers are living in the city, they are in, your neighborhoods.
Right.
So that in itself is a deterrent.
Yeah, they have an incentive. They have a vested interest.
Right. So that's one of the, that's all I wanted to say.
No, I appreciate that, Bruce. And there's actually a small city. I mean, there's some cities that have like experimented with this. I remember watching, I forget what that was I was watching. I can't remember. I think it might have been on some cable channel, but Evanston, Illinois. And I think one of the city council members from Evanston, Illinois was visiting Philadelphia City Council. This is pre-pandemic. And they have like a program that they've been rolling out where they have the police officers live in the communities, and they've seen some results with that. Let me go to Gloria out of Sharon Hill, who's calling in for a reality check. Sharon, how are you doing?
Hello?
Hi there.
I'm just looking for Sharon Hill. Hi. I'm Mr.
How you
Ellison.
doing?
How are
doing?
you?
All right, good.
That's good, that's good. You know what? I'm from Philadelphia myself. I was born and raised in North Philadelphia, okay?
Okay.
And if this something's not right here, there's just too many shootings. I think somebody from the outside is doing this, some of it. I really do believe there's too many people being shot, especially among children.
I would be surprised by some of that. I think some of that activity, yeah.
I believe that. I'm sorry to say, but there's something's wrong there. This is every day. It's crazy. This is really crazy. I'm going to tell you something. I grew up in North Philadelphia in the 50s and 60s. We had police cars. They would patrol day and night. Up and down Martin Street, up and down Huntington Street, Lehigh, York, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
22nd District. That's what our car number was 2215. I remember the number just like it was yesterday. I mean, they would just patrol around and watch the people. They did all of that. You know what I mean?
What do you think is going on now? I mean, we had the pandemic, so I mean that's one factor.
I know that.
What else you think is going on with police? Because I'm hearing that from a number of folks. You know, they feel like the police are not as present at a time like this. What do you think? What else is contributing to that?
You know, I think the police are pretty angry because of the Facebook postings last year or something. You know, and like they don't want us. You know, but we just won't show up here like we used to. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? Oh, well, this is in the ghetto, so it's not our problem. Yeah, I'm just saying this. That's what I believe anyway, you know?
Yeah.
It seems like, well, people don't really respect us. You know, we trying to do our job. You know what I mean? It seems like they hating on us, the community itself. You know what I mean? I'm Charles. This is what I'm saying. You know, it's just so sad. It really is.
Yeah.
It's really sad. Something's got to be done. It's something wrong. And the cameras do. What's wrong with the cameras? I think they see what they want to see. They might turn a blind eye, you know what I mean? Oh, we didn't worry about that. Look at the one with those that run red lights and all that. Oh, get them, you know. Take care of them. They taking care of that. What about the crime on the corner? You know what I'm saying? A robbery, you know, something like a raping or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we talked about those. I wrote about that too in the Phillips about them speed cameras and how they're placed. And no, thanks so much, Ms. Gloria. I'll let you go because we're coming to break. Thank you for those. No, you do the same. Yeah, you be safe out there too. Everyone, please be safe, especially in Philly. So, but thank you, Ms. Gloria, for your thoughts this morning. So, let me let's take a quick break, and when we come back on the other side, we'll be talking with PICO's Patricia King. She's the manager of community engagement for PICO, and we're going to talk about COVID-19 assistance programs, recovery crisis programs that PICO is offering, how those work. The phone lines are open in case you have a question for Patricia about PICO, about services that you can tap into. 215-634-8065, 866-361-0900. We're going to take a break, and then on the other side of the break, Patricia King from PICO is going to be joining us next here on Reality Check.
Fridays, it's right here on Word Radio. At 6 a.m., start your day with Daybreak, hosted by Helana. At 7, it's time to wake up with Word, with host Solomon Jones. Then at 10, it's a special edition of The Source with Tiffany Bacon, followed by Groundings at 1 p.m., hosted by Brothers Shamari. At 4 p.m., it's Laborers Live, hosted by Lessit. Then at 5, it's Solutions on Word. At 7 p.m., it's the Envy McKee Show. Then at 10, it's Freedom Sounds of Jazz, followed up by Messages in the Music, hosted by Joey Temple. Fridays are something special on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, streaming live at wordradio.com and on the Word Radio app.
We will never know how many of our friends and family members didn't get COVID-19 because we followed safeguards. We'll never know that number. This is Dan Hilferty, CEO of Independence Blue Cross, with a simple reminder of how much good we do for others when we protect ourselves. We'll never know how many lives we save because we wear masks, wash our hands frequently, and keep social distance. We'll never know exactly who we help, who we save when we take protective steps each day. We'll only know one thing for certain, that we did all we could to save people from the effects of a pandemic with the potential to overwhelm the region. And that's a nice thing for us to live with. Thank you all. For more on what you can do, visit IBX.com. Together, we are beating COVID-19.
Are you hungry today? Have your taste buds been sufficiently pampered? Call Eatable Delights for succulent and juicy turkey wings, no-filler crab cakes, or tender smoky beef ribs. You can pick up curbside or get delivery in Philadelphia, Montgomery, South Jersey, Delaware, and Bucks County. Call 215-236-3900 or stop by 1540 Wadsworth Avenue. That's 215-236-3900 because even your taste buds deserve pampering. And tell them Solomon Jones sent you.
Enterprise Exterminators, located 4943 Wayne Avenue, specializing in lantern flies, termites, bed bugs, fleas, mice, and roaches. Do-it-yourself kits are available. Call now, 215-849-7070.
This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Independent Black Media. Reality Check with Charles Ellison right now on Word Radio and WordRadio.com.
All right, welcome back to Reality Check. We're just waiting on Patricia King. She is the manager of community engagement for PICO. That is the regional utility. So she's going to come on and talk about some important information about COVID-19 pandemic assistance programs, recovery crisis programs. PICO customers who are impacted by the pandemic may be eligible for up to $800 through the LIHEAP Recovery Crisis Program. So that sign up ends August 31st, so at the end of this month. So you might want to check that out. Go to pico.com for more information. Patricia King was going to come on and talk to us a bit more about that. So while we wait, 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900. I was talking about Philadelphia Public School student proficiency and basic things like English language arts, reading, and also math. So just keep in mind, And so I think that this is very, very relevant to the conversation that we're having about the state of young people in the city. Also, a lot of concerns about violence and about how that's impacting young people, and who's perpetrating that violence, etc. Overall, 36% of the city's 3rd through 8th graders met state standards in English language arts reading on the Pennsylvania System of School Assessment for the 2018-2019 school year. That was up 35% from the previous year, but 36%? In math, 22% of Philadelphia students scored proficient or advanced, and that was up from 20%. Now, the state standard, real quick, and throughout Pennsylvania, 61% of students scored proficient or advanced in English, 42% in math, and 68% in science. Only 40% of Philadelphia students had hit the mark on or were science proficient, and that was up from 35% in the prior year. But those are some horrible scores. This is just horrible. You can't put a spin on that. That's just horrible, particularly when you look at the comparison to the state. So that's something we'll talk about some more and unpack, because I think that has a lot to do with a lot of these crises and the stress that we're undergoing these days as well. So let's bring on, we do have her now, Patricia King. She's manager of community engagement for PICO. Go to pico.com for more information. She joins us by phone here on Reality Check. Patricia, how are you doing? Welcome back.
I'm good, thank you. I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, thank you. Really appreciate your time. So, tell us what are PICO's COVID-19 assistance programs? So I see we got, LIHEAP recovery crisis. Is that pretty much kind of the crux of it, or kind of explain to us or outline these various assistance and recovery programs that people can tap into?
Sure, no problem. So the LIHEAP is the one thing that I want to talk about first. It's most critical, it's most important, it's most urgent. Right now, there's LIHEAP dollars. There are LIHEAP dollars available, and this is a part of the COVID Relief Act. There was $900 million nationwide. Pennsylvania got about $35 million of that, and right now there are literally millions of dollars still left. And so really, really critical that customers apply today as soon as possible, because they can get up to $800 per household. So this is free money. You don't have to pay it back, and it really can help towards your bill. So some people, another thing I like to make sure that I point out is that right now, of course, PICO and the other utilities are not terminating, but we're also not forgiving bills. So those balances are still there. They're accruing. They're getting larger. So why not take advantage of this money that's available now for you to help with that PICO bill? It closes, the LIHEAP program, the recovery program that's open today, closes on August 31st.
Wow.
So you don't have a lot of time. They have to get the application by then. So we really, really need people to apply.
So and when we say LIHEAP, we're talking about the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program. That's typically reserved for, or historically, that's been reserved for the winters, for heating costs. But, we've had shorter winters, less intense winters, and so now it's opening up more for the summers to offset electricity costs, especially with respect to air conditioning and things like that, correct?
You got that half right. So
okay.
The first part is correct, that it is typically open, and it's always open in the winter months, so November 1st to April 1st. Those are sort of the dates that it's typically open. It varies by a couple days. But now this money is because of COVID. So this is special money because of COVID. So there's been a lot of COVID money, kind of going out from the government. That's what this is. So if it wasn't for COVID, this money wouldn't exist. So this is a special program just for COVID.
Okay. Oh, thank you for that clarification. And Patricia, I think we were having this conversation before about like those LIHEAP dollars and how, sometimes, was that the LIHEAP dollars, and it just for my edification here, maybe for listeners, because I find this part fascinating, and you had mentioned it last time about like the rolling over of LIHEAP dollars from the winter. I know that this is special COVID money, but kind of under normal circumstances,
Yeah.
Pre-pandemic, was there a lot of rollover of LIHEAP winter money into the summer for people to use?
Well, it's not necessarily rollover, so you're getting it mostly right. But just
okay, that's why we bring you on.
no problem. You're in the ballpark. So the issue with the regular LIHEAP program is that every year, again, millions of dollars go untapped, and so those dollars. I mean, the worst, which was sort of an anomaly, but we had $80 million in Pennsylvania. On average, you have between $20 and $30 million that are left in the pot when the program closes. So that money is supposed to be rolled over into startup for the next season, but the real problem is that there are customers out there who are eligible, who need this money. So we need people to apply. You know, we should run out of money before we run out of time. And the opposite is happening. The opposite happens with the regular LIHEAP season, and it's happening now again. So when this money first came out, you know, there was months for folks to get it. And we thought, okay, people are sort of just kind of chilling and they're not really applying because the application rate is just low, even statewide. So it's like, okay, how do we get people to understand the urgency? And now we're at August 19th. The program closes on August 31st.
Yeah.
So it's even more critical that we get the word out that, you know, and the last thing I'll say about that, well, maybe not the last thing, but another thing I want to say is that if you are not eligible yourself, I'm sure you probably know someone that is. So for me, it's not necessarily just about, well, what can I get? Oh, that doesn't apply to me, so you close your ears. Well, what about people in your family, in your neighborhood, in your church, in your synagogue, whatever, you know, circles you're in? What about those people? I know because of the extreme poverty, unfortunately, in the city of Philadelphia and the state of Pennsylvania, you probably know someone who could benefit from this. So, again, if you can't use it, pass the information along.
Yeah, no, that's very important. And you can go to your website. You can go to pico.com. It's very easy, very simple. Go to pico.com for those of you who are listening, because this is really important. That's a lot of money to leave on the table for an energy bill, right? So pico.com.
Pico.com/LIHEAP. We make it even
/LIHEAP. Make it even easier.
So if you go to pico.com, you'll get everything. But if you go to pico.com/LIHEAP, LIHEAP, you'll go right to what you're looking for. We also have the application in Spanish and English.
Okay, so that's good to know too. I mean, you can go to pico.com/LIHEAP, or if you're not understanding that, pico.com, click on Need Help with Your Energy Bill. I mean, it's right there, it's staring at you on the front page. I mean, you're making this really accessible. So that's kind of baffling to me that word hasn't gotten out, and then you go to get help paying your PICO bill, and there it is, LIHEAP Recovery Crisis Program. So among other things, what do you think accounts for that? I mean, okay, you're on this program, and this is a good start to really get the word out and tell people, hey, this is free money on the table. We have this money set aside so people can get help. Are people just skeptical, or are they like, okay, this is too good to be true? PICO giving me $800. Or, I mean, are we not getting enough help from all the different institutional, government, and nonprofit channels we need to really get the word out about this?
I think it's hard to sort of determine customer behaviors, but your point, though, I think it's really because folks feel like we're not terminating service right now, and so there's no real urgency. And you know, and that's unfortunate because, as I said, at a certain point, that is going to change. And when that changes, your bill is going to be there, and that accumulation is going to be there. You know, so nothing is going away. So if you're not paying for customers who, and that's another thing that I would say, if you can pay something, pay something. You know, I understand that a lot of folks are financially impacted by COVID. And for that, so LIHEAP is a federal grant program. That's federal money that's available to everyone. At PICO, we're doing some things as well. So everyone is eligible for a payment agreement. All you have to do is just give us a call. Everyone is eligible for a payment agreement, whereas typically if you've had, you know, so many broken payment agreements, you're not eligible, et cetera, we took all that away. Everyone's eligible for a payment agreement. You just have to give us a call. also, there are a lot of people who are new to this space because of COVID. So you have some folks who are now low income who weren't previously. They've lost their job, they've been furloughed, et cetera. For those folks, we also have our CAP program, and that's a PICO program, CAP, Customer Assistance Program. With CAP, when you enroll in CAP, if you've never been on CAP before, everything you owe is set aside for forgiveness.
Wow.
So that's another huge way that customers benefit. Exactly. So you've lost your job. You're now low income because you lost your job. You haven't been able to pay your bills. Give us a call. We'll enroll you on CAP. You can go to pico.com/CAP. You know, everything is there on the website. And I don't want to take for granted because there's some people who don't, you know, use technology or are not technologically savvy.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of our elderly. So we have a phone number. That's the LIHEAP hotline, 1-800-34-HELP-4. That's 1-800-34-HELP-4. And to give you the numbers, that's 1-800-344-3574. So you can call that phone number. You can go online. Right now you can't come in person because of COVID, but have those options.
Wow. And I want people to understand, I mean, based on what I'm hearing, based on what I'm reading and learning about Patricia, I mean, this conversation is really crucial because I want people to understand that there is literally, it's not too good to be true. It really is, in a very good way, what it is, what you're hearing right now. And so, and I don't want there to be a situation after in September, October, when this thing gets worse, and then, you know, people are saying bills, and they're like, well, you know, PICO need to give me help. It's like, well, PICO was giving you help, had a whole bunch of money on the table, and you didn't know about it, or when you heard about it, I can't help the people who haven't heard about it, other than, you know, really put the word out there and really urge people, if you're listening in now, you know about these programs, please tell your neighbors, please tell your family. This is these moments where you have to be community. And you could be really having an impact, a positive impact on someone's life. If you're listening into this now and you're saying you're going online, you're going to pico.com/LIHEAP or pico.com and looking like need help or assistance, and you're telling your neighbor or your family or your friend, you are potentially saving people's lives. You're also reducing their stress. Yeah. So that's why this is really important, because I just don't want to hear it from folks, but especially if they're listening now. They're like, well, how come PICO didn't do X, Y, and Z? It was like, well, they were. Remember, we were listening back on August 19th. We had this program here. So, folks, if you want to, once again, learn more, there is a phone number. If you don't have, because there are people out there who still aren't accessing online, but 1-800-34-HELP-4. That's 1-800-34-HELP-4, or the numbers are 1-800-344-3574. 1-800-344-3574 is really important, crucial 1-800 number to sign up. You may be eligible for up to $800 of LIHEAP recovery crisis assistance. That is that's a good bit of money for energy assistance, particularly depending on what your electricity bill is. So like that can help you for a nice little stretch.
Folks think that we terminate. We don't. We do not enjoy, nor do we want to terminate customers. That's not what we're in the business to give electricity. So we are not in the business to terminate service. Of course, that's a last resort that sometimes we have to resort to, but that's not what we want to do. And that's why we're out here promoting these programs, because it would be easy for us to just, terminate all these customers. That's not what we want to do. We want to keep your service on. That's why we're promoting LIHEAP and pushing it really, really strongly, especially in these last couple of days of the program. That's why we're offering additional payment agreements. That's why we offer a CAP program. That's why we have a very comprehensive suite of assistance programs for customers, because we really want to keep your service on. That's our business. That's what we want to do. We understand it's difficult for some people, which is why we have programs put in place to help those people to meet affordability.
Yeah. It's been a very hot summer, Patricia, and that's understating it. What's the energy usage been like? Have you all been looking at that and having any concerns about it?
Yes, energy usage has been up a little bit, and a part of that is not just because of the weather. The weather is definitely a contributing factor, but also because folks are home. So think about it, now everyone's home since March. Some people are now starting to go back out, but in I guess, mid-March, it's sort of like life sort of stopped, and everyone went home and stayed in the house. So that definitely increased usage as well.
Yeah.
Another reason why you need to apply for this LIHEAP assistance.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because of that increased energy usage. I have seen things. I don't know if you're privy to this, Patricia, but I have seen cases like certain cities like New York, Baltimore, for example, where local governments are doing some teaming up with local utilities and offering things like free air conditioning units to vulnerable residents, such as the elderly. Is that something that's being considered with PECO?
Yep, absolutely. So we have a very robust LIURP program. LIURP stands for LIURP, Low Income Usage Reduction Program. And in this program, we target customers who are low income and high usage. And we go out to the home and we do whatever remediation measures are necessary to bring the usage down. So if this is a homeowner and they have an energy inefficient air conditioning unit, we would give them a brand new unit. Have an energy inefficient refrigerator, we would give them a brand new refrigerator. So yes, we definitely have programs like that.
Okay. No, that's good. It's good to hear. And it sounds like you got some folks at PECO just trying to do what they can do. Yeah. Between that program, LIHEAP. So yeah, no, that's good to hear. We've been talking with Patricia King. Patricia King is manager of community engagement at PECO. Go to PECO.com for more information on what they have to offer. So three things you can do here. PECO.com, and then just click on Need Help with Your Energy Bill, or you can go to PECO.com/LIHEAP. That's LIHEAP. And there's a lot of folks out there, I'm sure, who've been familiar with LIHEAP, or you can call 1-800-344-3574. That's 1-800-344-3574. Patricia will continue to put that number out throughout the course of this program. I'm just going to I'm going to keep reminding myself, and I hope listeners who've been listening and keep reminding me too, because that's going to be a really important number. That's going to be a lifesaver for a lot of folks out there.
Yes, absolutely. And I really hope people take advantage of this program. I mean, it's money out there, because the other thing is that if we can show that all of this money is used, more money might be put in there.
That's right.
It's really unfortunate that it's not like we have a lack of need. So we know from census data, we know that there are customers out there who are eligible. You just have to apply. That's it.
Yeah, we'll figure something out on how to get that word out there, because then we're coming up on that August 31st deadline. So I'm thinking of a few things now. Patricia, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you as well.
All right. Take care. Be safe out there. All right. Let's take a break. And when we come back on the other side, phone lines are open. Phone lines are wide open. 215-634-8065. Toll free 866-361-0900. 215-634-8065. Toll free 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. Let's take a break and we'll be right back.
Weather and traffic to keep you informed for your drive home in the happy hour with Sincerely Sarita, Monday through Thursday 4 till 7 p.m. right here on Word Radio 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Always Best Care is a great place to work. Flexibility,
leadership, purpose,
great benefits.
There's never a dull moment.
Diversity,
inclusion, compasión. We love our jobs. If you're looking for a great place to work, you can join our compassionate Team Green. You can apply online at teamgreenabc.com or call 267-909-9248.
Teamwork makes the dream work. No fear, just facts. This is WURD, independent black media. Join us for our annual Founders Day broadcast, a special virtual on-air and online celebration of our founder, Walter P. Lomax Jr., MD. Thursday, August 20th from 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. Enjoy an entire day of celebration as we recognize that independent black media is more important now than ever, with panel discussions that you can watch on Word TV via Facebook Live or listen on 900 AM 96.1 FM through wordradio.com or the Word Radio app, including a conversation with the Lomax family, discussions on black innovation, wealth creation, doctors on the front lines, featuring Dr. Ayla Stanford, self-care strategies during a time of madness, and much more. Plus, updates on our Livelihood Initiative to connect our community with jobs and career opportunities. And what better way to celebrate independent black media than to ensure that it continues to thrive by starting or renewing your 4Word membership at the discounted rate of just $80 exclusively on Founders Day. It's all going down on air and online from 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. Thursday, August 20th. But be sure to register right now at wordradio.com to be eligible for exclusive prizes and giveaways during our Founders Day broadcast. And stay tuned to Word Radio, sponsored by Pico, Comcast, NBC Universal, Brown's Family ShopRite, Dietz & Watson, Canada Dry, Amoroso's, and Hers. Reality Check with Charles Ellison right now on Word Radio and wordradio.com.
All right, welcome back to Reality Check 96.1 FM, 900 AM, wordradio.com, Word TV, Word app as well. 215-634-8065, 215-634-8065. Toll free, it is 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. 215-634-8065. Toll free is 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. Phone lines are open. Phone lines wide open until we hit the 12 o'clock, the noon hour. We get into our citizen segment. We've got citizens Caleb Jones and Andre Wright. They are the founders of Give and Go Athletics. I'm looking forward to having that conversation. More information at giveandgoathletics.org. They were recently featured in the Philadelphia Citizen in an article entitled "The Hook is Sports. Give and Go Athletics uses sports to give kids in Brewery Town the confidence to be who they want to be." So we're going to be talking with Caleb Jones and Andre Wright in the noon hour for our weekly Citizens segment. Go to philadelphiacitizen.org for more there. 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. Also, just want to underscore, just really important, if you didn't hear, we just had a segment, because this is really important information. I think this has to get out there as much as possible. So I'm really hoping people can help me, help us, right now, help other people, right? So Patricia King was manager of community engagement for PICO, was on here. She was mentioning that there's millions of dollars that came through federal money that came through for PICO to create a LIHEAP recovery crisis program. The money's been on the table for a while, and unfortunately the word has not been getting out. Those are the things, like, for example, and I know Patricia is limited as to what she can say, but see, these are the types of things, like, for example, your city council member needs to be constantly telling you, like, every time you see them in public, whether they're like in the street with a mask or on a Zoom, hey y'all, $800, you can get up to $800 through the LIHEAP Recovery Crisis Program. Call 1-800-344. That's key information, and you don't see that, right? So if you're going to have a hearing about the gun violence crisis, okay, when you start off the hearing, can you please mention, like, the LIHEAP Recovery Crisis Program? Like, that's federal dollars. And so, and people then are like, when the time passes, and then they're all salty at PICO. PICO's not perfect, but but in this particular moment, like, that's good help right there. So, and that's good work. People get all salty because they're like, what PICO doing for me? It's like, well, they had like millions of dollars on the table for you to tap. And you need to also check your city council member or your state representative or your state senator. Like, yo, how come y'all ain't telling me about the LIHEAP Recovery Crisis Program? Like, people have to figure out how to really, there's just kind of like those really important top line pieces of information, like, put that out there, like, and be aggressive about it. And You know, like the mayor should be constantly, every press briefing he has with COVID-19 updates. Oh, hey, did you guys hear about the LIHEAP Recovery Crisis Program? And this is on local media too. This is on local media too. You know, like the local TV affiliates and stuff. You're talking about every other thing, every damn thing else. Like, talk about this. Like, put the word out there. That's like a nice little piece of cash that can help a lot of people out and alleviate a lot of stress. And you know, keep people's, you know, lights on and other things too. But call 1-800-344-3574. Just go to pico.com/LIHEAP. I'm stunned that there's that much money in a place like Philadelphia where people are always in need of money that's being left on the table. That always stuns me. And you know, money that's like, it's easy to get. There's not a whole lot of eligibility requirements. And we got to put the word out about that. People, please, you know, Philadelphia has got to do better with stuff like this. Philly has got to do better. Like, and it's not, it's like easy stuff, like low-hanging fruit, like just plucking the fruit. Like, come on, like just easy stuff. Y'all can't even get the easy stuff right. Mamie out of University City is calling in for a reality check. Mamie?
Good morning, Charles.
Hey, good morning. All right, I'm hanging in there.
You know, I love your commentaries. I love the fact that you're on it. Thank you so much. I'm very happy that WURD 900 AM and WDUR 96.1 is on the air. People can access it. It's not, you don't have to have lots of money in order. It's free.
It is.
And it's coming to you live and in color if you have a computer, if you have a cell phone. It's not hidden knowledge. And my hope is that people will start to understand that it's a sacrifice for the Lomax family, for them to continue to have this access for us who are the citizens of the city of Philadelphia. And, in fact, this is all over the world. I hear people calling from New Zealand, from Africa. I mean, you know, it's not hidden. But, Charles, you know what? This thing about the all of these killings, this has been going on forever. And there are some visuals that people can access. There's these different Netflix and Amazon and Disney and all these other outlets that have these movies that you can watch. Sometimes people are visual. They need to see things in order for it to stick in the head. I've been looking at the old movies like, for instance, the original Gangster, Ron O'Neal, Fred Williamson, Pam Grier, Oscar Brown Jr., Richard Roundtree, and many others. And it was depicted, I gave wrong information Monday to Solomon's show, but it was depicted in Gary, Indiana, which was the capital for this sort of thing. And also school days, because sometimes we have these cultural clashes in our own community where people who have gone to higher education, they kind of look down on people who are poor, and you know, and we need to wake up, start helping each other. That's love. We gotta love each other. It's not hard.
No,
Smile at each other. Even though we're wearing the mask now, your eyes are a mirror of everything, and you can show it by just making a smile. But thank you, Charles. Keep doing what you're doing, like what Reverend Joe says, because you do it so well. And WURD does it so well. It's a brilliant programming. People need to wake up. Power to the people. Thank you, Charles. Have a blessed day and stay protected. Wear that mask. Put those gloves on. Wash those hands and vote and do the census. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Thank you. Thank you. You too. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that, Sister Mamie out of University City. And you stay blessed and be safe. Please be safe out there. Thank you for those words. I appreciate that. We all need that. that message. Let me go to Bobby out of Southwest. Phone lines are open, 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. Let me go to Bobby out of Southwest calling in for Reality Check. Bobby?
Good morning, Sir Charles.
Hey,
How
good
are
morning,
you?
Ms. Sister and Bobby. How you doing?
I'm fine, sir. Listen, this is what I want to kind of make a comment. I am not totally accurate, but I am a thinker. This is my conversation to you. The young lady was explaining about PICO, the $800 for persons that will fill out the applications and things of that nature.
Yes, ma'am.
Here, I stand here. I don't know, because I'm not from this area, but I don't know if PICO send out, mail out bills to every customer. I remember in the day that's the way it was for when I was young. But my point is this, because if they mail bills to each individual customer, why can't they put a notification, alert note or something to people to let them know about this $800? Because I'm thinking it's a federal grant or a state grant.
It is.
So
it is from those
there
federal COVID-19 relief dollars. It is.
Okay. So in that case, when they get the grant, there's a section for administration, communication to the public. So why can't they mail it to people? Because a lot of people do not still have internet. I have internet, but I messed mine up. So I'm sure somebody else, have their.
I understand. I understand.
Yeah. So I'm thinking they should be mailed, with the bill.
That's a good point. That's a good point, Ms. Bobby. We'll check up on that. They should, right? If that's not the case, if they're not doing that, I think that's a good idea. So we need to think about that. Absolutely.
You, Sir Charles.
Thank you, Sister and Bobby. Appreciate you. It's good to hear you doing well. You hanging in there. So, but we're gonna put that information out and we'll try to get an answer on that. Let me go to Celeste out of Center City, who's calling in for a reality check. Miss Celeste.
Good morning, Charles. Thank you so much.
Good morning.
I just wanted to thank you and WURD so much for all the information that you give all the time, because I sure get a lot of important information to me. And also about things I didn't even know about. But getting back to the census, thank you so much for several weeks ago informing me about that I could go on the internet to do that, which I did several weeks ago.
You did do your census? Okay, great.
Yeah, I did it on the internet. You gave me the website there. And it was really enjoyable. Pardon me?
Nice. No, that's very good. Thank you for doing that, Miss Celeste.
It was also very enjoyable to do. I mean, it was fun. It only took a few minutes, and it was fun. The point of my call this morning is that yesterday I was looking up on the internet information about the electors, like when you vote, and then the electors go and give their vote tallies to so that the guy can be, so that Biden or whoever can become president, And when I looked that up, I found out how important the census was to even the voting. And please correct me where perhaps I don't have it correctly in my head. That it seems to be saying that the amount of people that the census collects as living, for instance, in Pennsylvania, allows more electors to then say yes, here to go there and say yes, here it is for Biden, let us say, okay, and the least amount of population that the census collects for Pennsylvania, the lesser amount of electors. And the electors are important because even though, for instance, I'll be voting for Biden, even though I vote for Biden and many other people, let us say, vote for Biden, these electors are the ones who represent our vote going in and saying, yes, it's Biden. providing Biden wins the popular vote in Pennsylvania. But I didn't know that also we can have more electors going in there, for instance, than some other states, you know. And of course, the more electors that are going in there saying yes, it's Biden, the more available he is to be the winner of the presidency.
And I like how I really do appreciate that thought into that, Ms. Celeste, because we need more of that. We need more awareness around the Electoral College. And I've said this before, like I know that there's been this big move this year, like a big conversation about abolish the Electoral College. And I like the direction that you're headed in, Ms. Celeste, because you're being realistic about this. You're like, okay, I personally don't like the Electoral College, but I also know it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Right.
So you figure out, okay, well, what is it? How does it operate? How do you game it? And I do believe the black electorate is in a position. I understand, I know the history of the Electoral College, its racist origins, but now today in 2020, where it's not going anywhere, black folks have a really big opportunity to game it, to really leverage it to play some chess here and really bend it to our collective electoral will. It's possible, and we've crunched those numbers on this program. Ms. Celeste, I have to let you go because I have to break, actually. Thank you for that. Thank you for that session. Marisa out of Southwest, Diane out of South. Hold on for just one moment. Phone lines are open at 215-634-8065. Toll free, it's 866-361-0900. Let's take a break, and we'll be right back with open phone lines.
He was the heart of your family, and he taught you our history. He helped you fix your first flat. He was the best backyard DJ around, and every time he'd tell a story, he'd own the room. But now more than ever, he may feel alone. Today, older adults and their loved ones are struggling to connect, in a time when connection has never been more important. But there is something we can do. Embrace our older loved ones through StoryCorps Connect. With StoryCorps Connect, you can honor seniors remotely with an interview about their life. Every interview will be archived at the Library of Congress, becoming part of American history, so that years from now, future generations can listen in.
All right, Grandpa, what's one piece of advice you have for me?
Just 3 words, sweetheart. Live with courage.
The man that had the best stories still has plenty of stories to tell. So connect virtually and share the conversation of a lifetime at storycorpsconnect.org/AARP. Connect, honor, share. StoryCorps Connect. A message from AARP, StoryCorps, and the Ad Council.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Be heard. Want another way to join the conversation? Follow us on social media using the hashtag onWURD. Be heard. Stay connected to Word Radio. Independent Black Media.
Family Therapy Vignette Moments with Dr. Lucille Ijoy. If you missed me from the protest line and you can't find me nowhere, I'll be 6 feet back with my mask on. I'll be shouting right there. Yes, I'll be shouting right there. Oh my goodness. Yes, I'll be shouting right there. Now, if you miss me from the protest line and you can't find me nowhere, Corona may track us. I'll do the right thing. Shelter in place somewhere. Yes, shelter in place somewhere. And if you miss me from the protest line and you can't find me nowhere, gotta go and register and vote on time. Yes, I'll be voting on time. Oh, I'll be voting on time. Yes, I will. I'll be voting on time. If you miss me from the protest line, I'll be voting on time.
Reality Check with Charles Ellison right now on Word Radio and WordRadio.com.
All right, welcome back to Reality Check. Phone lines are open, 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. Phone lines are open. Let me go to Maurice out of Southwest calling for Reality Check. Maurice?
Hey, Charles.
What's happening?
I thank God for the lady that called right before me. It's something that I was slipping on. And you slipping too, because you're supposed to have been explaining this to us early about the electric vote. You're supposed to have been doing that to us.
You must not be
Giving us
listening.
all the schooling on it.
Yeah, I mean, so you must not been listening then, but go ahead.
No, I was listening. I have the way she was breaking it down. I never heard it like that before.
No, I appreciate it. No, I appreciate it. I think we occasionally talk about the electoral college.
I'm saying it not as a criticism. I'm just saying that now that we got a couple months here, maybe you can break it down in your next couple of shows. Maybe next week you can bring in an expert on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I got put people in mind. Go ahead.
In the room. I want to get to the elephant in the room right now. The elephant in the room is, number one, why the mayor doesn't come on the radio station. Number two, the commissioner seems to be lost. I just seen her at a shooting over the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of days ago. It wasn't even a weekend. A couple of days ago, and she seemed to be totally lost. You know what I mean? And it's a shame that something like that has to happen during this time period. That she is lost. She's asking the community for help instead of her giving help. And I'd like to see what you got to say about that. And I got one more question to ask.
Sure. What's that? I can't. Oh, yeah, I think we had a phone issue, Maurice. For some reason, we lost you. You make a good point there. I mean, we've had thoughts that we've expressed before about, like, the commissioner, and sometimes she does look like a deer caught in the headlights. The mayor, mayor got reelected. So the mayor's like, why need to come on programs like Reality Check? Because we used to have a mayor on every month. We used to have him on once a month. So I guess, he got through his primary and he's like, and we noticed a very dramatic shift and change. So, I mean, that invitation is there. It's on the table. It's open. But Mayor Kenny is like, I got my second term. I'm good. Let me go to Diane out of South Philly. Really, that's the attitude. Diane out of South Philly is calling in for a reality check. Diane? Ms. Diane, can you hear us? Diane out of South Philly, going once, going twice. Ms. Diane, we can't hear you. You can mute. Okay, call back. We're going to have to let you go and then call back, Ms. Diane out of South Philly. For some reason, we lost you. Let me go to Ruby out of Kensington, who's calling in for a reality check. Ruby?
Yes, I'm calling reference to the latest that they should have sent letters out to let people know about the LIHEAP program and the PICO program. There were letters that were sent out to people that already had received LIHEAP.
You said there were letters that were sent out?
They sent letters out to everyone that received LIHEAP during the year.
Okay, got it.
But WORD had a program on where 3 women came.
Okay.
2 was from PICO and 1 was from the gas company, PG Jefferson. That was back in May, and they said it then. The letters did go out to people that had applied for LIHEAP, but they wanted everyone to know about this program.
Yeah.
So if you didn't apply for LIHEAP, you wouldn't have known.
You wouldn't have known. That's okay. That's good to know. I'm gonna ask about that. I'm gonna ask about that because I think it should be just wider. You're saying there's millions of dollars being left on the table.
But WORD had a program in May.
Okay.
Started promoting that program.
Okay.
PGW and PICO.
Okay. Thank you for that.
It's been on a while, but I've been telling everybody that I know that might need help.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that, too. I appreciate that, Ms. Rue, because we got to get the word out about that. And so we need to get the word out, too, about people that, experiences people may be having with PICO, customer service experiences, or if they feel like, the program is not living up to what it's promoting, because they get a email from a listener who was saying that they've never gotten more than $200 from LIHEAP, the same as everyone else that she knows who applied. $200. So she said she had applied for it in June, was rejected because she didn't have an outstanding balance. PICO goes by income. And so, that I need to know about that too. So if, so that needs to be corrected, and we need to, put the word out there about that. I think, any kind of money that's out there available, especially federal relief dollars. And we want to ensure that an agency or utility like PICO continues to get those dollars or gets more dollars in the future so people can take advantage of them. But one, we want to make sure that the program is being administered correctly and effectively. So I appreciate the listeners sending that email and letting us know about that because we need to know that. But I do still think it's an important program. You know, we definitely don't want to leave money on the table, but I need to know about all that. So please, you know, feel free to email me, cellison@wordradio.com, or call in and let us know about your experiences with that program if you've been participating in it. Let me go to George out of Center City who's calling in for a reality check. George, what's good?
Fine, Maura. How you doing there?
How you doing? All right.
I was listening to Maurice, and he just all of a sudden got cut out. It looked like he was driving somewhere and just dropped the call. I know
we had phone issues with him. We're not sure. Hopefully he'll call back. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what it was. I said, dang, I didn't even get the answer there. But listen, Charles, I was listening to this whole thing about the city violence, and I just got to keep reminding people you got exactly what you asked for. You know, you got the answer. I mean, until the rebel rousers, you know, the hellraisers, the ones who say F the police, those same ones, all that blood is on your hand. You know, go protest in the police's house. Where are them suckers at now? Was doing all this rape, making all this noise. You don't hear a peep out of them. You hear nothing out of any of them. But McNesby told you, look at how many homicides been solved. I mean, if there's 200 homicides been solved, maybe 10 being investigated to the fullest of being resolved.
Yeah.
And then you got a commissioner got the nerve to say she needs the public's help. For what? That's your job. Your job is to protect the public. I mean, everybody play these games. If you want the violence stopped, get those same fools who sat there and terrorized the police, talked all that big willy talk, go there and sit with McNesby, because McNesby told you it's going to come a day that you're going to beg us to come in your neighborhood. And you know what? It's at that point. Now, when they implement stop and frisk, don't holler, because that's what it's also about, because the police they can know a person got a gun in the car. They can't stop the person. They're not going to stop them after they can't, because why? They don't want somebody taking pictures. They got 9 years in, they don't want to lose their pension. There's so many factors that play in with safety. You know, be careful what you ask for. Yeah, it sounds real good. Make all that noise. Now also, Charles, we're finding out a lot of these people who are pretending to be Black Lives Matter, giving Black Lives Matter a bad name, is not even part of Black Lives Matter. Like yesterday, all those fake Black Lives Matters was down there on the Parkway to get in a confrontation with the police. Good thing that the police didn't get, you know, the city didn't go making the move.
There's a lot of that going on in a lot of major cities. We actually had an expert on last week, political science brother out in Seattle, who wrote a big piece about that. Like, you know, folks have to be careful. There's a lot of folks co-opting or signing on to Black Lives Matter. A lot of you know, white allies, so-called, and they're creating situations.
It's not so much of the white allies that's in it. A lot of them are sincere. It's these procrastinating, want to be important Negroes. You know, they can't
and some of them aren't. I mean, you got kind of like folks from kind of both avenues. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's there are people out there. I mean, for the most part, there are people out there who are peacefully trying to raise awareness, but there are people that are bad actors who are trying to start
Charles,
stuff
let me say this,
and vandalize, and that's not cool.
Let me say this, Charles, and I want
real
to
quick.
listen to what he's understanding real quick. Until those agitators who sat there and disrespected the police, maybe the police did all they say they did. Until they go up there on Caroline Road and sit down with McNesby, it sounds real like your pride won't make you do it. But you know what? Until that happens, you're going to keep having all this blood on your hands, and these idiots know who they are. You know, you better make peace with the police department, or it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I gotta let you go too, Drew, because I want to make some time for calls. But yeah, there's got to be balance. There's got to be equilibrium. To George's point, there has to be equilibrium. I think there's a both and here. I think that on one hand, there's this immediate urgency of solving homicides, of immediately addressing rising violence in these neighborhoods. And I mean, unless you have some better plan or a better type of agency, and I mean, your tax dollars go into the salaries of Philadelphia police officers. If I'm paying somebody, I expect them to provide that service. So people should expect service from a Philadelphia Police Department. So on one hand, folks are going to have to work things out with Philadelphia Police Department to ensure that they're on the scene, right, for the immediate term. And then long term, we need to talk about structural reforms. We need to talk about other things and be holistic about this conversation, because I talked about that before. So, you know, got to come up with a plan. Diane out of South Philly is calling for a reality check. Ms. Diane?
Alice, Charles Ellis, I'm sorry. I've been like, I had to hang up and come back on the phone. How are you today?
How you doing? All right.
First, I'm sorry about all the static, and this is the Apple phone, the top of the line, right? So much for them. But I want to thank you because you are so informative. I think her name was Patricia. They called from Pico.
Right.
I called
Yes, ma'am.
when I had his number, and guess what they told me? That I did not qualify because my bill I just paid. I have like a I had to borrow the $74 to pay that. Then they're going to tell me that I don't qualify because my bill doesn't total over $75, which it does. See, this is the problem. I know they need to use that money, the funding, for a crisis. But if I have to borrow to pay, that's a crisis right there. So you know what? And then they're telling me that I can't apply for LIHEAP until November. Well, I hope I still have air and whatever I have in my home. But I'm going to call back because I'm a diehard South Philly girl, and I don't know how to take no for an answer. But she needed to emphasize that this is for people that have outstanding bills, like in the hundreds, and you have some people like that. But if you are a senior, you should qualify just as much as anyone else. And I know Anthony Williams gave my daughter $700-something to pay her electric bill. Right off the bat, no questions asked, and it was taken care of. I know they're giving you good. I know she's going to tell you what she needs to tell you, but be more specific. And another thing, Maurice.
Yeah, that's why. And I was hoping. I think we're going to bring Patricia back one too. I did have phone lines open. I wish that some folks had called in, but we're going to still. I'm going to ask these questions because I'm seeing some people who had some issues. They're on Facebook Live. There are questions about that because I'm all for money being on the table, people take advantage of programs, but I also want to make sure these things are administered correctly and all the everyone's
and
everything's on the up and up.
And another thing, Charles, Maurice. He needs a wife to calm him down with a good meal. Because one time I called up there, I said, I'm not calling no more because he just works you to death. But
all right. Hey, Ms. Diane, thanks so much. No, I appreciate that. I got to let you go, but I appreciate your call. I do. Because I want to take one more caller before we wanted to break. Thank you. Stay safe out there. Let me go to Sister Murray out of Northern Liberties calling in for a reality check. Sister Murray.
Hi, Charles. How are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing great, and thanks for receiving my call. And God bless everybody at WRD.
You too.
I want to say something about, you were talking about the young people, you were being concerned, kind of alarming about them not going to vote. I don't think we should be worried about that. The young people are the ones that are out there really protesting. They're the ones that's out there on the front line. They don't move too fast. They're not saying much, but I'm sure that they're going to come out and vote. And also, when Kamala Harris begins to continue, her and Joe Biden, when a Democratic continues to show out and show up, and the more that she talks, the people really going to stop judging her and really see where she's coming from. They're going to really take to her side with all the heavy hitters they got, Michelle, Obama, just all the people that are backing them up and coming out and talking. It's all going to come together. But what we need to do is just continue to get our ballots in right now. Do not wait until the month before or 2 weeks before. Stay focused. Yes, there's a lot going on, but we need to start cleaning up our cities. We need to get those tents from town. It is nothing but germs. It is horrible to see. And Philadelphia is a beautiful place and one of the richest places. We need to take it back. We need to clean it up, and we need to do this together. And we're not just talk about it. We need to be about it. And how do we do that? We have to start somewhere. And continue to support WRD. Continue to send them money. And if it's $5, send it in. It doesn't matter. It's going to help us continue to listen to see what they're fighting for us, how they're helping us, our communities, our districts, how to get them more educated, how to get them involved into community things and not being out in the streets and doing the wrong thing. So continue to support. God bless everyone, and have a blessed day.
All right, you do the same. Thank you, Sister Murray. Appreciate you and words of wisdom as always. Let me take a break, and when we come back on the other side, we'll be going into our citizens segment, our weekly citizen segment. We got Caleb Jones and Andre Wright of Give and Go Athletics, who were Philadelphia residents profiled in the Philadelphia Citizen recently. So we're going to talk with them coming up next on our weekly citizen segment here on Reality Check, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, wordradio.com. Word TV, Word app. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Weather and traffic to keep you informed for your morning commute on Wake Up with Word. Weekdays 7 a.m. till 10 a.m. hosted by Solomon Jones. Right here on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Dietz & Watson has been making premium meats and artisan cheeses for over 80 years. And when it comes to stacking sandwiches and party platters, they've got something for everyone in the family, like maple honey turkey breast, American cheese, buffalo chicken, and more. So get to your local deli and taste 4 generations of family recipes. With Dietz & Watson on the table, you'll have everyone coming back for seconds and thirds. Dietz & Watson, it's a family thing since 1939.
Hey, Word family. Our friends at Amoroso's Baking Company are hiring right now. Amoroso's has been baking the delicious bread in our community for over 100 years, and they want you to join their team today. The old and the young love Amoroso's, and they are hiring right now. Check it out. They offer fair pay and provide health, dental, and prescription plans after 90 days employment. Call 856-754-0355 or visit amorososbaking.com for details.
Join us for our annual Founders Day broadcast, a special virtual on-air and online celebration of our founder, Walter P. Lomax Jr., MD. Thursday, August 20th from 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. Enjoy an entire day of celebration as we recognize that independent black media is more important now than ever, with panel discussions that you can watch on Word TV via Facebook Live or listen on 900 AM 96.1 FM through wordradio.com or the Word Radio app, including a conversation with the Lomax family, discussions on black innovation, wealth creation, doctors on the front lines, featuring Dr. Ayla Stanford, self-care strategies during a time of madness, and much more. Plus, updates on our livelihood initiative to connect our community with jobs and career opportunities. And what better way to celebrate independent black media than to ensure that it continues to thrive by starting or renewing your 4Word membership at the discounted rate of just $80 exclusively on Founders Day. It's all going down on air and online from 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. Thursday, August 20th. But be sure to register right now at wordradio.com to be eligible for exclusive prizes and giveaways during our Founders Day broadcast. And stay tuned to Word Radio, sponsored by Pico, Comcast, NBC Universal, Brown's Family ShopRite, Dietz & Watson, Canada Dry, Amoroso's, and Hers. Home of the Happy Hour. With Sincerely Sarita. This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Streaming live at wordradio.com and on the Word Radio app. Reality Check with Charles Ellison right now on Word Radio and wordradio.com.
All right, welcome back to Reality Check. We're headed into our weekly citizen segment. We do that in conjunction with the Philadelphia Citizen, nifty little online magazine that's got quite a wide reach, and you can learn more about it. You can read some great content at thephiladelphiacitizen.org. You may find the occasional Reality Check column. I'm a little bit behind on that these days, like going on in the world of politics, but we're going to be reformatting that just to kind of stay tuned, maybe doing some new things with that. But go to thephiladelphiacitizen.org for more information and more great content and insights and information there. Recently highlighted or profiled in the Philadelphia Citizen are 2 Philadelphia residents, Caleb Jones and Andre Wright. They are the co-founders of Give and Go Athletics. Check out the latest one of the latest feature articles in the Philadelphia Citizen entitled "The Hook is Sports. Give and Go Athletics uses sports to give kids in Brewery Town the confidence to be who they want to be." More information on Give and Go Athletics is at giveandgoathletics.org. We've got Caleb Jones and Andre Wright, local native Philadelphians, joining us by phone here during our citizen segment on Reality Check. Caleb, Andre, how are you both doing?
We're doing great. We're doing great. Doing very well. Thank you.
All right, excellent. So I'll start with whichever one of you, either one of you can jump in or both. Give and Go Athletics. What does Give and Go mean exactly? What does this do? What does this program do?
That's a great question. So Give and Go is a play in basketball, also a play in sports, playing soccer. So you give the ball and you move to a different position, and then maybe you can get it back. So that was kind of our concept with the name Give and Go. So we kind of give our time, our talent, and our energy, and then we kind of just keep it moving. So that's kind of where the name Give and Go kind of came from. The actual program itself, Andre and myself both grew up on 29th Street, the intersection with 29th and Master.
Yeah.
We both had very similar but different experiences of North Philly, and basketball was a thing that brought us together as kids, and it kind of reconnected us together as adults. Our love for it, for the game of basketball, and for how important basketball was perceived in North Philly at that time. We thought what could be a better way to help the kids out from the area that we're from. And both of us being therapists, we put it together, and 12 years later, here we are.
No, that's good to hear. Andre, yeah, talk more about Give and Go, how it's working, the types of sports programs you're operating, managing, how they blend into the mental health services. And Caleb, I want you to chime in there too as far as that mental health component. How are you all managing through pandemic? I mean, is this program? I suspect. I mean, really can't do much during a pandemic time like this.
Right. Well, Give and Go, what we are is a sports-based youth development program, right? Years ago, we started with basketball just as a way to connect with kids. We Caleb and I have a background in mental health. We both worked at Reynolds Elementary School as therapists back in 2008, 2009, and got to see the direct effect of the lack of programs in these public schools and in the city in North Philly.
Yeah.
So that prompted us to take action. So we started with basketball. We started with 3 kids, and 2 weeks later we had 30 kids. So basketball is a very popular game around our youth in the city. But we also wanted to connect with the entire community, so we then branched off, and now we offer baseball. We've connected with some other organizations nearby us, and we offer tennis as well as soccer. So it's all about us meeting the needs of people in the community, and and it's rooted in therapy. My younger brother had got into a really rough situation as a young person, and just looking at the lack of outlets and the lack of opportunities that he had afforded to him. And there's many other stories similar to that. So that's what prompted us to kind of start Give and Go, and the community kind of got behind us, and it kind of took off from there.
That's all right. In fact, Andre, one of your teachers is on our Word TV Facebook live stream. Ruben Mills, thanks for watching too. Sister Ruben Mills, she's saying, proud of these guys, 29th Street stand up. Andre was my student in high school, so I don't know if you remember her, if that rings a bell, or jogs a little bit of memory, but there are folks listening in, and they really love what you're doing. We appreciate that. And if you have any questions too, for these two brothers, the co-founders of Give and Go Athletics, feel free to leave them in the Facebook live stream. Many of you are watching us through Word TV there. You can also do that on Twitter.com, @Ellison Report, #RealityCheck, C. Ellison at WordRadio.com. Caleb, chime in here as well, because you're both therapists, so that seems like the obvious bridge there, connection to blend in the mental health aspect of the mental health services. But expound more on that, like how you came to that conclusion about mental health services in order for this to work. So, because I think that aspect of it is very important, and it's, in a simple way, it's kind of brilliant, right? Because I've seen these types of extracurricular or sports programs created over the years. As someone who also grew up in North Philly, they're always created for the classic inner city kid, quote unquote, or at-risk youth, quote unquote. But we never talk about creating trauma-informed programs, considering all the trauma that that kids in places like North Philly or like where you grew up go through?
Yes, I think that's great. For us personally, we grew up with a lot of trauma in the neighborhood. There was a lot of violence going, but it was a lot of good also in the 80s and the 90s in 29th Street. And
that's right.
We knew how trauma affected us as children, as men. And when we went away to college, it was like a kind of like a shift, and you just saw things through a different lens. And you know, coming back, you saw the kids were traumatized, or you wouldn't try things that wasn't a norm. So with us being behavior therapists, and with us like watching kids and working with kids, we really work with the really rough kids. So we had some of the really, as they quote unquote, at-youth, at-risk kids, and basketball was the way to get them all to like listen. Like we were just like, look, man, the kids are off the hook. If we stay after school with them, maybe they'll listen. And we just saw their behaviors improve, and then we really started taking it another step. We had a mentor who was a therapist who really stressed the importance of mental health to us while we were young therapists. We kind of just integrated it. I went to Lincoln University to get my master's degree, and during that time, I was able to really integrate a lot of therapeutic concepts into sports, and we just related everything to real life. So it's been really cool.
No, that's good to hear. Yeah, Andre, stepping on that, like why that mental health trauma informed aspect of this is important. You know, it's not enough to just have the students, have the young people go out there and play the sport. I mean, sports and physical activity anyway, I mean, that is in and of itself a very effective mental health exercise. I mean, just plain and simple exercise is good for your mental health, but you know, you got to make this a little bit more sophisticated, which you all do with Give and Go. Is you make it a little bit more wraparound in terms of the support.
Yeah, and I think it was important for us when we started Give and Go to like kind of think outside the box a little bit. We didn't want to do something that was already being done. We wanted to kind of evaluate the community and see what the exact needs were. And I think at the time, therapy was a big thing that a lot of people needed because. You know, we practice something called Sanctuary throughout our programs where we do check-ins, and Caleb and I, we also made therapy and mental health a part of our personal lives as well. So we don't just preach mental health to the kids. We also practice it every day. Caleb and I get up early in the morning. We get on the call. We pray together. We vent to each other. And I think that was something that was needed, especially with some of these teenagers, middle school kids about to make the transition to high school. You know, and it was as simple as knowing that it was working in our lives, being able to try to duplicate that the best way that we knew possible. And you mentioned something a little earlier that kind of sticks out that was very important, is that, kids are at risk. And we try to take a lens and looking at it as if they're not at risk, but they're at prime. They're at prime. Right. So, you know, they need things to be offered to them. They need outlets to be provided for them so that they can open up, so that they can heal, and so that they can reach their full potential.
Do you feel like with this city, because, you know, we've had a conversation is ongoing on the station, especially on a program like this, and we're just having a conversation about this before you all jumped on, like with this rising violence crisis in the city. And, you know, as someone who also grew up at the around that same time through the 80s, you know, 80s Philly child, Gen X, growing up through North Philly. And we had issues with violence back then, too. But do you feel like the city's doing enough with that, with respect to that, with what you just said, Andre, about keeping kids active, coming up with creative sorts of outlets? I don't see the kind of creative outlet infrastructure now in Philly that I saw growing up. I don't know, or that I tapped to even personally. I mean, that was how I kept out of trouble. You know, like, you know, whether you liked it or not, you know, your household, they kept me busy. Like they were constantly like, oh, you got nothing to do. You can't be sitting around here not doing anything. Well, you're going to do this. You're going to go to that activity. I don't see a whole lot of that. I don't know, and maybe I'm missing things. And I see you brothers are doing it. That's one example. And a lot of this is also falling on the nonprofit philanthropic community. I mean, do you see that support that's needed from the city? You know, city and state can kind of come in and help. I saw a lot of that back then when I was growing up. I don't see as much of that these days, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm open to being corrected on that.
The short answer is no. Sorry.
Short answer is no. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, I'll start with you, Andre, and then Caleb.
I'll be short. No, the short answer is no. There's not enough being done to try to, and the key word here is prevention. It's to try to prevent these kids from going down the path and going down the road that they're going down. And no, we're not putting enough resources into prevention. I feel like we're reacting to what's going on, but we've learned in our 11 years of offering Give and Go to the neighborhood that it's much more beneficial when you invest in the kids instead of trying to respond to what they're doing and the outcome, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, go ahead. Caleb, I think. You wanted to chime in? You wanted to say something about that?
Yeah, I was going to say that the initial reason which prompted us to action with Give and Go. There wasn't anything being provided like when we grew up. You know, our mentors were there. It wasn't maybe as a formal structure, but it was there in the neighborhood, and that's what prompted us to do Give and Go. In terms of I think Andre hit it on the head perfectly with saying the investment needs to be made up in front. A lot of these killings and these shootings are undiagnosed traumas that these kids are running around with, and they've been traumatized since they've been in their parents in vitro, and then they're sugared up. They don't have anything. They don't have anybody. You know, so you put all this trauma, this mistrust, and different things, and you put them in a classroom, and for the first time, you put them in a formal environment and expect them to perform to a standardized test or to be able to react like that. So it's such a traumatic experience in the inner city, and there's so little being done to keeping kids active, and that's why you see the direct correlation with the violence and things. And the schools, they don't offer enough support as well either.
No, they don't. I mean, you know, that was kind of that big tipping point for you both with Give and Go, because the school district defunding, cutting funding and resources to a lot of extracurricular activities, to pretty most, if not all, extracurricular activities that the school district had to offer. So now that onus, that burden falls on nonprofits like yours.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where we've made our mark in that time when they shut down at that time it was a lot of flash mobs going, and it was like the beginning of gentrification when we first started. So it was a different kind of vibe, but you know, we were able to really make our mark when there wasn't any after school activities, and we would do things outside. We would just do things with kids just to keep them out of trouble, because we knew that you know, with therapy and with trauma, it takes a village to raise. It takes a village mentality to raise kids, and if you start healing some kids, other kids will come. You know what I mean? And sometimes kids can help heal other kids. We have a lot. The best thing about Give and Go now is that we have children who come through our program who are young men now who are taking active leadership and are probably going to do better things than Andre and I can even hope to accomplish. So, you know, just by addressing their personal traumas, by being a trustworthy person, you know, those things are just so important. The kids need that staple in their life.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's really important. How does this type of program, how does it support the academics? You know, go through that once again, like how, like you take the sports, but any direct sort of conduit towards academic support or working with the kids on their academics, or if maybe one young person is slipping academically, how does it support that?
We use an informal structure, so we're like an informal learning. So we stress academic learning, but we stress it in an informal setting. Like having good credit is informal learning. Learning how to buy stocks, that's informal learning. Learning about real estate, you know, learning how to keep a clean household. Learning people are religious, going to church or saving money. Those are things that you learn from people around you. You learn how to fish. We try to encourage the kids informally to take ownership of their grades and to take ownership of their accountability for their grades and their actions. So that's kind of how we influence, try to influence them academically. But we're more of a informal academics. Like, we're trying to give you lessons for life and things that'll stick, stick and help you get through it.
Also one other question that I have too, while I got you with, once again, we're talking with Give and Go Athletics, Caleb Jones and Andre Wright. Go to giveandgoathletics.org to learn more about what they do and also how you can get involved too. I know that's a very challenging time for you both, in terms of pandemic. It's a very challenging time, especially for young people trying to tap into your program. I hear basketball, baseball, and those are great. But other plans to branch out into other sports, other types of programs, particularly when we get on the other side, where we get some kind of control with this pandemic thing. I just wondered about that. Some other folks may wonder about, hey, other kinds of sports that they can branch into, like track or, I don't know, martial arts, tennis. I did a lot of tennis growing up in North Philly, so that's why I asked. But I just wonder about that. Oh,
yeah,
either one of you?
We have some partnerships on the horizon that we're looking forward to. I don't want to give you too much information on what our projection is as far as the direction we're going to go in sports-wise. But we do have a very good partnership on a promising partnership on the horizon that you can look forward to in 2021. I don't want to give you too much information, but again, it's all about meeting the needs of the community. And a great example is like during this pandemic. Starting from March, when the schools shut down and the cities were starting to shut down, it prompted us to one, just simply continue to do the work that we were already doing. I mean, I think the way our programs and our organization is structured, it's always focused on the kid and creating and developing well-rounded young individuals. So all we did was, go back to what we've already been doing and continue to offer it when other organizations who were reliant on the funding to offer their programs began to kind of fail and fall back. Which kind of prompted us to the forefront. And, I think we've had more kids engaged during this pandemic, whether it be virtually, whether it be in a hybrid model at our camps and our clinics, than ever before. And I think we were able to make huge leaps and bounds from the beginning of the pandemic up until now, because we've been working on developing young core individuals. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. No, it's we definitely going to keep an eye on you too. I'm going to have to go to break, let you go. But really appreciate this information. We got to have you back on so you can give us an update on what's new. Caleb Jones and Andre Wright are co-founders of Give and Go Athletics, giveandgoathletics.org. Check out the latest article in Philadelphia Citizen about these two and about they've been profiled. Their program's been profiled. It's entitled The Hook is Sports. Give and Go Athletics uses sports to give kids in Brewery Town the confidence to be who they want to be. They've been joining us here on Reality Check. Hey, thank you both. Thank you both for this work. Really appreciate having you on today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right. Appreciate you too. Thank you. Thanks again. Take care. Let's take a break. And when we come back on the other side, we're talking to Jack Bronstein. He's a Tree Philly program manager at Philadelphia Parks and Rec. This is an EcoWord segment being brought to you by Bartram's Gardens. And so stand by while we talk to Jack Bronstein and Tree Philly here up next on Reality Check, EcoWord, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, wordradio.com, Word TV, Word app. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The Murray Report, bringing you the latest in sports news and opinions. Hosted by Chris Murray. Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. right here on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on wordradio.com and on the Word Radio app.
COVID-19, rising infections, red alert levels, and worries about reopening. What can you do? The Germ Killer's two-step products and services disinfect and protect for up to 90 days to give you peace of mind. The Germ Killer's system kills viruses and bacteria on high-touch surfaces in schools, houses of worship, businesses, and public transportation. Decontaminate immediately and keep students, school staff, congregations, or customers safe for months. Go to thegermkillers.com and get the coverage and safety you deserve.
We will never know how many of our friends and family members didn't get COVID-19 because we followed safeguards. We'll never know that number. This is Dan Hilferty, CEO of Independence Blue Cross, with a simple reminder of how much good we do for others when we protect ourselves. We'll never know how many lives we save because we wear masks, wash our hands frequently, and keep social distance. We'll never know exactly who we help, who we save when we take protective steps each day. We'll only know one thing for certain, that we did all we could to save people from the effects of a pandemic with the potential to overwhelm the region. And that's a nice thing for us to live with. Thank you all. For more on what you can do, visit IBX.com. Together, we are beating COVID-19.
Listen live at WordRadio.com.
JD's Auto Body and Painting is hiring talent for the following positions: assembler, preferably 2 to 3 years experience, able to tear down and reassemble all make and model cars. Painter, must have at least 5 years overall painting experience, including experience in water-based paint and able to prep cars for paint jobs. Auto Body Technician, looking for an A or B technician, must have at least 5 years experience repairing cars. Please send your resume to JD's Auto Body and Painting at Comcast.net. That's JDS Auto Body and Painting at Comcast.net, or call 215-848-5949 for more details. JD's Auto Body and Painting is an equal opportunity employer.
Reality Check with Charles Ellison right now on Word Radio and WordRadio.com.
All right, we're headed into another EcoWord segment. Go to EcoWord.com for more information and content at the intersection of environmental justice, class, income, race. We cover all that at EcoWord.com, our environmental justice journalism project. And today's EcoWord segment being made possible by Bartram's Garden. We're talking with, right now, Jack Braunstein. He is program manager for Tree Philly at the Philadelphia Department of Parks and Recreation. And Jack's been focused on increasing or enhancing neighborhood tree canopy in Southwest Philadelphia. That's an emerging priority right now for Bartram's Garden, and that's as a result of their community leadership circle. And they've been partnering with Tree Philly for citywide tree planting, and community care projects. Jack here to talk a little bit more about that with us. Jack, how are you doing?
I'm doing great today. It's a privilege to be on the show. Thank you so much for having us on, and to Bartram's Garden for through their partnership, allowing us to participate in the conversation.
Yeah, no, thank you for this, and thank you for this work too, because people may not realize, and we talked about it a lot on this program, either during these segments or in others. Tree planting is just so important in a number of ways, and we get ready to talk about that. And I'm letting you take the lead on that conversation as I ask the questions, and talk about the Tree Philly program. Like, what exactly is this? How did that come about?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's we're just grateful for the opportunity to kind of introduce the program to the listener community. For anyone who may not be aware, but Tree Philly is a program of Philadelphia Parks and Recreation, part of the city, and then the Fairmount Park Conservancy nonprofit partner. And our mission is to empower Philadelphia community members to plant and care for trees in their neighborhood. We're driven by a goal that was set by the mayor's office, sustainability plan in 2009, that every neighborhood in the city of Philadelphia should have 30% tree canopy. So that's a number, but what it means is that if you were looking from the sky, that 30% of every neighborhood would have a shady tree canopy, right? So,
okay.
And that's
where's that level of shade or level of tree canopy right now, Jack?
Yeah,
do we know?
It's, It's a great question. I mean, so if you look at an average across the city, we're around 20%. But it really varies neighborhood to neighborhood, which is one of the reasons why we, are driven by that every neighborhood goal, right? So some neighborhoods, like Chestnut Hill or Mount Airy, are well above 40%, and others are persistently below the average. So just saw a number today that Hunting Park in North Philly is down at 8%. Chinatown is like 3 or 4%. So it really varies across the city, and every neighborhood needs kind of a different approach. But that's our general mission and goal.
That's that urban forest strategic plan. Is that this Tree Philly program and how it operates? Can we say, like, is it getting people employed? Is it used as a tool to engage people, even during a pandemic? I mean, I'm assuming that tree planting is taking place even as we speak. So how are you using this as a sort of community engagement, resident engagement, potential employment tool as well?
Absolutely, yeah. So the Tree Philly program is basically, one arm of a community of people in city government and a nonprofit and in the grassroots community who are really working toward that goal. So the main program that we have on offer at this point, in addition to all of the regular city services around getting a tree planted in the street, taking care of trees in parks, the main Tree Philly program is something called the Community Yard Tree Giveaway program.
Okay.
And so basically what that is we are empowering community leaders to connect their neighbors and community members with trees to plant in their yard. And so that's something that we've been doing, for a number of years. We've given out over 25,000 trees for residents to plant in their yards, so on private property. And the way that we do that now is we recruit and provide grants to any kind of community-centered organization, be it a grassroots organization, a CDC, school, a church, a mosque, whatever, to work with us to distribute trees to their neighbors and community members. So usually, pre-COVID, that was to put on an event where folks would come out and pick up a tree, learn about the tree, pick the right tree for their space to provide them, the benefits that they're specifically looking for, be it flowers or shade or whatever it may be. And we are continuing that work now during the COVID pandemic, but with social distancing, we're doing a door-to-door tree delivery program and other options. So that is continuing. I'd be happy to share more details.
How can people participate in that community yard tree giveaway program? So, like, where can they go? Is there a place like a central spot they can go to online to somehow, be involved in Tree Philly to participate in the community yard tree giveaway program?
Sure. Yeah. treephilly.org is a great place to start. I think that I would direct people there toward a few different paths. If they're looking to get a tree, they should sign up for our newsletter, and that's, we'll send out the most updated information. We're going to have our schedule and our list of different community partners around the city who are going to be hosting tree giveaways with us coming through that line. If they're not on the internet, they can also reach out to us at 215-683-0217. And then if they are a community organization who wants to be a part of that movement and work with us to increase the tree canopy in their neighborhood, they can also reach out to us on that number at treephilly.org and inquire about an application for that.
Got it. So, a lot of people in Philly might ask, some people listening in on this program might ask, Jack, why trees? We can think of so many other things other than trees that are a priority right now. So why are trees so crucial?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that, I wish I could have all of our community partners on the line to answer that question in their own way.
Yeah.
Trees really, really serve our communities in so many different ways. I mean, at the basic, trees are life-saving, life-affirming parts of our community infrastructure. They're providing basically environmental services that make our communities places that are healthy and good places to live. So they're touching on some of these underlying public health elements of what it means to live in a city. Clean air, trees filter pollution out of the air, also obviously create oxygen and just the basic conditions of life for us.
Right.
We might think of the city as being separate from some greater nature, but really it's all intertwined, and we rely on it, and trees are one of the main ways that happens in the city. I think another thing that folks really care about is heat. Our summers are extreme right now, and they're only getting worse, with climate change. And again, I don't think this would be a surprise to many of your listeners, but some neighborhoods in Philadelphia are much hotter than others. Like I gave the example of Hunting Park in North Philadelphia. On a hot day, Hunting Park can be 22 degrees hotter than Chestnut Hill. And one of the biggest reasons for that is that there isn't a great canopy of trees to shade folks' houses. So it's really about quality of life ultimately.
Yeah.
And then there's also that. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Jack. What was that last thought?
No, I was just going to say there's also a financial component. Having a tree in front of your home can increase the property value, can save you up to a third on a summertime air conditioning bill, which I know is hurting a lot of folks right now. You had someone from Pico on earlier. There's so many things I could talk about that, but there's also that kind of personal, spiritual, cultural connection, whatever it may be, that our neighbors can develop with trees and kind of with the natural world right in their own backyards and their own neighborhoods.
Let's talk a little bit about Jack, because definitely you're preaching to the choir here about like the importance of trees, and I grew up on a street that fortunately had a lot of trees, a lot of tree canopy on it. It was a lot of row houses, but so you grew up appreciating the trees. At one point, they cut down a lot of those trees because they were getting old, and they were cracking through the sidewalk, and that was actually a lot of people mourned that, got really angry about that. But I realize the importance of trees. There is, however, especially in a place like Philadelphia, where you have a lot of tensions around, you obviously got the pandemic going on, but before the pandemic, tensions around the economic disposition that people are in, tensions around race and gentrification, and talk a little bit about that. How do you reconcile that? Because typically there are a lot of people in Philadelphia and certain communities who view these types of extensive tree planting programs as some form of gentrification, like, oh, now a certain type of demographic is moving into these neighborhoods and now they want to plant trees. And so how do you reconcile that? How do you coordinate or alleviate some of those concerns by partnering up with the community and also making this kind of activity very relevant to the lives of distressed and vulnerable populations in Philly? Philly has a very high poverty rate, but folks in those populations have to understand, hey, this is an important part of your overall quality of life on a number of levels.
That's such a great question, and it's really at the heart of what we're trying to work toward and put out there in the city. I mean, the dynamic is real. We talk about like green gentrification, right? That trees often might show up in an area that didn't have trees before when the new condos start going up and all that stuff. I think the important question to focus on for that is, why were there no trees there before? You mentioned a story from your upbringing of having a tree-lined street. The stock of trees were aging, and they were eventually removed. I think that what we want to be moving toward, and what I believe that the Tree Philly program is a step toward, is a point where the city and our nonprofit partners and our partners in the grassroots are all working toward a point where we're sustaining a really rich environment of trees and flowering trees and kind of our the plants that sustain us and make our neighborhoods great places to live in all places, in all neighborhoods in the city, regardless of where they're at, you know, in their history and their story. And I think that some neighborhoods, you know, you just mentioned, like our communities of color, our low wealth communities, have been deprived for too long of the resources of, you know, a Chestnut Hill or a Mount Airy. Mm-hmm. And what our program is working to do is not to impose that same vision, you know, because you're not going to have the canopy of somewhere, you know, up in the far northwest that you're going to have in Haddington or in Southwest or in, you know, Kensington. It's every neighborhood is different. Everyone's got different desires for what that needs to look like. But basically what we're trying to do is put the resources out there and say, you know, this is for you and your neighbors to kind of green your community on your own terms. We're working with community leaders in all these places, you know, CDCs, like I said, schools, churches, people who are just well-connected leaders in the neighborhood but believe that trees are a part of a better life for and a better, you know, a better situation for their neighbors and community. So we're connecting with them, having these kind of conversations about what role a tree could play in this community, and providing that resource. But then at the same time, one thing that I'm proud of that we're doing and that I think is kind of leading us into some greater level changes is we're not only sharing the resource, but we're also trying to share the leadership in decision making around trees with our community partners. So we bring them in, we're having meetings, we say, you know, where do you want to see these resources? What kinds of trees do you want to see? How are you communicating with your neighbors, and what do you need from the city? And we're really trying to respond to that authentically, because I agree with you, you know, the dynamic in the city right now is that there is, you know, there's a lot of history behind why some neighborhoods have trees and others don't. And we're trying to work on writing that new history.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I can see four major things that easily illustrate why trees can be important to Philly life, you know, particularly from the perspective of, you know, someone who is daily on this station and kind of, you know, tapping into how listeners or how listeners potentially could feel about a program like this and get more involved with it, and just kind of thinking about, you know, the people I grew up with. I mean, definitely I'm hoping that you get to a point where, because I think planting trees is very important. It could be a big, important function of this green economy that we're trying to realize and create, right? You know, for a city like Philadelphia, which I think could be an innovator and a leader in that nationally. That's one, employing people, a green, you know, a tree planting economy of some sort, or a tree care economy. I mean, keeping otherwise idle or inactive young people engaged and out of trouble. I mean, that's two, right? I mean, especially with what we're going through right now as far as violence. I wonder too, Jack, about that conversation about more planted trees, because I've seen the studies on this means less violence. I mean, there's a reduction of about like 13% violence for just tree canopy, just shade alone helps that. And also, the more trees you have, the more water you soak up, because Philly's a major flood zone, especially these days. We've been seeing that, and more trees you plant, that helps to mitigate a lot of this flooding water. So I mean, it's just kind of those three or four things to telegraph to those audiences, hey, this is really directly relevant to, it has a direct positive impact on your life and quality of life.
Absolutely. And I can address each of those things. I mean, the tree care economy, you know, what some of my colleagues in the field would call like green collar jobs, that is a growing field, and that's something that anyone who's listening, anyone who is a youth or has youth at home, there are opportunities to get good solid work caring for trees, you know, climbing up into trees with a chainsaw and taking care of this really important infrastructure. It's a growing field, and the workforce you know, that's available is not ready to take that on. So there are opportunities. And I know that in the city of Philadelphia, there are two kind of pathways toward getting involved that I would urge people to look into. One is through the Power Corps, you know, job training program. They have an urban forestry track. They train folks on, you know, all different elements of basically getting on that ladder of employment. And the second is...
Real quick too, Jack. I didn't mean to cut you off here. I only got you for a minute or two more. Because someone made a real good point here on Facebook Live, and I just want to make sure I sneak this in before you go. Junior Lee saying tree selection is important for urban areas. Some trees close to the house can have shallow root systems and can damage walkways, driveways, home foundation, and plumbing. Hence probably why they cut down those trees, as I recall when I was younger on my block. There are also hurricane winds on the East Coast to consider for urban neighborhoods and can fall on houses. Very good point. Trees can't always be planted in a position to save energy. Go ahead, real quick, Jack, if you could address that.
That's a great point. We're all about trying to help folks select the right tree for the right place. So we are working on, we offer a range of trees through the Yard Tree program. We show folks images of what the tree would look like at 10, 15, 20 years next to a typical row home, recommendations about how far to plant the tree. And we're also thinking a lot about adaptation to climate change. So, what it looks like to have trees that are hurricane resistant from the south or resistant to extreme heat and flooding, as we've seen such a problem, especially in the Southwest, which trees can really maximize soaking up that water to help with the flooding.
Yeah, no, that's real good. I unfortunately go to break, Jack, but this was good, so we'll definitely keep following up and talk more with you at some point in the near future. Jack Bronstein is the program manager of Tree Philly, for which is being administered by the Philadelphia Department of Parks and Recreation. Go to treephilly.org. Is that correct, Jack, for more information?
That's right, yeah, and thank you so much for having me on.
Excellent, treephilly.org. So keep up that good work, and then we'll keep a good eye on it, and make sure that we get more trees, more tree canopy. We really grow Philly. So I appreciate your work, Jack. We'll be following up. Thank you again. Let's take a break, and when we come back on the other side, phone lines are open at 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. Let's take a break, and we'll be right back.
Open calendar. What's my schedule looking like?
Next Thursday, you will be caught in an emergency flash flood between Park and First Street.
What? No, that doesn't work. I'm busy then. Decline. Decline.
Floods don't exactly work around your schedule. Disasters don't plan ahead, but you can. It starts with talking to your loved ones about making an emergency plan. So don't wait, communicate. Visit readypa.org. Brought to you by readypa.org, FEMA, and the Ad Council.
Do you need health insurance for your children? The Children's Health Insurance Program, also known as CHIP, provides quality, affordable health insurance for Pennsylvania kids. CHIP ensures that kids can go to the doctor, receive health screenings and vaccines, and get what they need to live a healthy childhood. Families can be covered by CHIP no matter how much money they make. If you've experienced a recent change in employment or income, CHIP may be a good option for your family. Visit chipcoverspakids.com to apply or learn more.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Support independent black media and join the 4Word movement now at 215-425-7875 or visit wordradio.com. Reality Check with Charles Ellison right now on Word Radio and wordradio.com.
All right, don't forget we got Founders Day tomorrow from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. We are celebrating, honoring the life and legacy of Walter P. Lomax Jr., MD, the founder of WURD Radio, Philly-born physician, entrepreneur, philanthropist. And so you will hear special Founders Day program. We're in a virtual environment. We can't meet in person, unfortunately, but we are going to have Founders Day, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., all-day special programming. We're going to have a number of panels on a number of interesting and also very important topics. We're also going to be rebooting WRD's Livelihood Initiative. That'll be connecting Black Philadelphia residents to jobs, career readiness information, entrepreneurship opportunities, financial literacy. So listen all day, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, wordradio.com, Word TV, Word app, and also watch us on Word TV through facebook.com/4word. Don't forget, special Founders Day discount for 4Word membership. Join or renew on Founders Day for the discounted price of $80. It's typically $90, but it'll be $80 tomorrow. So go to wordradio.com for the full lineup. Register for Founders Day so you're eligible to win prizes and special giveaways throughout the day. So definitely looking forward to that. 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900 here on Reality Check. Real quick, I just want to say something as far as like, the state of public safety in the city, rising violence. It's a real problem. Real problem here too, when you think about it, you think a little bit more deeply about it, when we have a situation here where you've got the president of the Fraternal Order of Police openly suggesting or hinting that he's directing members of his union to hold back on their basic duties just to make a point. Because do remember that the president of the Philadelphia Fraternal Order of Police regularly meets and sits down with the Trump White House, with the Trump administration, with the president, with the vice president. Pre-pandemic, he used to regularly hop on Amtrak and make those trips to the White House. And the current White House has a vested interest in things exploding out of control like this, coordinating with police unions who basically run police departments, because the mayors aren't running the police departments. I don't think Mayor Jim Kenney is running his own police department. And so I have an issue with that. I have an issue with that because at the end of the day, there should be an expectation of basic return on investment. Taxpayers, residents of Philadelphia or any major city, pay the salaries of police officers to perform a basic duty. So if there is something going on here that's unofficial, where police officers are being directed not to perform basic duties or not to be on scene simply because the president of their union is making a point, and I understand people are human beings, they're public servants, they're paid workers of the city, and they're feeling that, a lot of cops, I understand, they're in their feelings right now, about the kind of the times we're in right now, because it's a lot of acrimony going back and forth between police officers and the community, and that has to be worked out too. That really has to be worked out. Like, folks are going to have to find some middle ground on that, especially if you want some immediate alleviation of this crisis, this rising gun violence crisis. But that's negligence. That is pure and simple negligence, and that's just wrong if there is like an active decision that is being carried out by the president of a police union, and he's saying, oh, you know what, well, since y'all feel that way about us, and you don't want to let us do what we want to do, or let certain officers want to do, because if officers are doing things like being on social media or they're doing racist, stupid things, don't do that. You're not supposed to be doing that in the first place. Just don't do it. Then there's nothing. Then there would be no problem in the first place. So, there has to be basic standards and codes of accountability for public servants, and particularly for public servants with respect to public safety. There's just some basic things here. There's just basic things here that folks in the community should understand, and folks who are also first responders or frontline police officers should understand too. Like, why do we even have to have this conversation? So, taxpayers or people paying the salaries of frontline police officers should expect a basic return on investment, and people being on duty. That's just that, full stop on that, right? And but also on the other hand, like, there's going to have to be a better conversation and a better planning session between community advocates, people on the front line of the community who are demanding something be done about this crisis of violence. So there's going to have to be a better, more collaborative conversation, because people have no choice, because things are kind of spiraling out of control in certain neighborhoods. What's the plan? Well, I mean, I heard somebody bring up one time, well, bringing the fruit of Islam or whatever, they can only be in so many places. It's only but so many of them, right? So it's like, which the immediate crime prevention, crime reduction strategy, that's one. And then long term, what are those investments that we need to make? Think more wraparound and holistically. Mental health, like the two brothers were talking about, workforce development, education. I mean, that no one is upside the superintendent's head on a daily basis about these piss poor reading proficiency, math proficiency, science proficiency scores, particularly compared to the rest of the state, is unbelievable. And then you're wondering what's going on with the kids. It is stunning that people will not bring that up as an issue, or as alarming as red alert. Like, you mean to tell me, like, only and then the literacy crisis, the illiteracy crisis in the city, that's the root cause, is one of the root causes of the problem. So I mean, this conversation, this business about like a sitting police union chief holding basic police services hostage, that's not right. Like, that has to get fixed if that is the case. And also, community folks, the community advocates, et cetera, have a better conversation with the police officers, right? Have a better conversation with the police department. Work this stuff out, y'all. There's a lot of people getting shot and a lot of people getting killed. Work all this, like the egos, the political stuff, like work through it. All right, let's go to the phone lines. 215-634-8065, toll free 866-361-0900. Pat out of West is calling in for a reality check. Pat?
Hey, Charles, how are you? Good afternoon.
How you doing? All right, good afternoon.
I just wanted to know if it's be okay. A brother came out of the store, and I'm doing the census, and he says to me, they're talking about the census on WURD, so I just wanted to shout that brother out. Thank him very much for letting me know the conversation was going on. I just wanted to share a little bit of information that I received while I was training to do the census, and I remember this specifically in my head. In 2010, I think it was like 7.0 children were not filled out. Census was not filled out for at least 7% of black and brown children. Census was not done for. So that right there is a big problem because it affects programs like CHIP and lunch programs and SNAP and things like that. So people need to be aware of that. People also need to be aware that the redistricting that went along in our city of Philadelphia had a lot to do with the census because people did not fill out the census. So I want people to be aware that the 2010 census affects us today. We see it today because it wasn't filled out completely or wasn't filled out the way it should have been filled out. So I'm encouraging everyone, please fill out the census. We really need it more today than we ever needed it before, and we really have to get it done. I was talking to some people who own some stores in my neighborhood that don't look like me, and they refuse to fill out the census. They said they don't live here, they're not filling out the census, but they own businesses in our community. And the census also has a lot to do with businesses coming in our community. Federal dollars being given out for people who want to open up businesses. So we got to really pay attention to what the census is doing and what it's done in the past. And then we can go to our government and say, you know, wait a minute, we did what we were supposed to do. Now you need to do what you're supposed to do. And just thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate you, Pat. We definitely got to do what we got to do with respect to the census, and we're going to keep on having that conversation, raising awareness around the census. And we're having this big national conversation about systemic racism, and we want to eliminate systemic racism. Well, it's just like the gentleman Rob Santos said yesterday, or I made this statement yesterday, don't take the census and you're actively making, or we're actively making systemic racism worse. Like, you're not going to be eliminating it. Not taking the census will not eliminate systemic racism. Taking the census more and more, every last one of us taking the census eliminates systemic racism, right? Like, it forces a lot of that systemic racism that we wiped out. Don't take it, it's going to get worse. So it's like, it's just, once again, it's another simple, free activity. We had another caller, someone who called in, was saying they took it online, and it was actually fun. That's what they were saying. There was exact words. They said they had a good time taking it. It was just a few minutes, so people are going to have to go check that out. My Census 2020.gov, census.gov for more information there. 2020census.gov, 2020census.gov. You can just go right there. You can take it online. They're making it as easy as possible. The deadline's end of September. So people really have to take that census. Everyone has to get counted. And it's not just a simple matter of people getting counted. It's 1, eliminating, defeating systemic racism. 2, not leaving major money on the table. 3, and a whole host of other things. And other, I mean, you want to get jobs in your neighborhood, take the census. You want to get a new school or a better school, take the census. You want to get a grocery store in your neighborhood, please take the census. You want to make sure them SEPTA buses are rolling through, or maybe they have future plans to expand mass transit in your neighborhood, take the census, fam. Take the census. It's like, it's so many different things that the census is needed for, and you got to take it. People have got to take it. That is the biggest protest move. Let me tell you, if you really want to give your finger to the man, that is what you do. Take the census. Like, seriously, if you just want to do a protest thing, you're like, I feel like I'm fired up. I need a protest. I need to like, tell the man to do whatever. Take the census. Like, I'm serious. I'm being dead serious. Like, that is the highest form of protest that you can do right now, is take that census because they're like, oh my gosh, all these, like, you know, because the man is going to be like, all these Negroes taking the census, they're overwhelming me. Oh my gosh, like, you know, the racism is like, it's just blotted out. Take the census, please. All right, the source with the source with the Black Women's Leadership Council is coming up next here on Reality Check. So stay tuned here on WURD, the source with the Black Women's Leadership Council, coming up next on WURD. I want to thank Troy Wilmore behind the scenes. Looking forward to hearing the BWLC as well. Stay tuned then. Philly, in the meantime, want you to stay sharp, stay smart, stay safe out there. I will see you tomorrow for Founders Day. Founders Day tomorrow. Don't forget, go to wordradio.com for more information on that. Have a great afternoon, great evening. God willing, I will see you tomorrow for Thursday for Founders Day. Take care, everyone.